After 5 years of marriage, I donated a kidney and sold my house for the little girl my wife brought home and eventually lost my son. Instead of being grateful, my wife pushed me into the icy river. After my rebirth, I chose to divorce and refuse to sacrifice anything for my wife anymore. I started a company based on my experience in my previous life, and it quickly rose to prominence. The wife begged on her knees, "As long as you forgive me, as long as you are willing to come back, I will do whatever you want." The pungent smell of disinfectant pierced my nose, causing me to open my eyes suddenly. The pale walls of the ward in front of me almost suffocated me. My name is William, and I found myself reborn to the day when I transplanted a kidney to Doris. It was this little devil who caused our family to be torn apart. I touched my waist, and fortunately, the operation had not started yet. Jessica's concerned voice came to my ears. "William, are you awake? How are you? Are you feeling unwell?" That voice was like a poisonous snake spitting out its tongue, making my hair stand on end. I couldn't help but turn my head and saw her sitting beside my bed. Behind her, Doris was lying on the bed. Her eyes were watery, and she looked at me expectantly. Doris is the daughter of Jessica's best friend. Her eyes gave me chills. I started hoarsely. My throat was very dry. Jessica immediately stood up and poured water. "Are you thirsty? I'll pour you some water." Her gentle gesture almost made me feel sick. I resisted the discomfort, pushed away the cup of water she handed me, and stared at her intently. In my previous life, I was deceived by this woman's gentleness. I never thought that she was such a vicious woman. For her, I gave everything for this family, but in the end, my family was broken up. And it all started when she brought back the little devil Doris. I wanted to question her, to expose her true colors, but when the words came to my lips, I swallowed them back. Now is not the time to expose her. I can't alert the enemy. I have to wait for the right time. "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Don't scare me." Jessica saw that I was in a daze and reached out to touch my forehead with pretended concern. I dodged her hand and said coldly, "I won't do the surgery anymore." Her smile froze instantly, and her expression changed. "What?" "The doctor said that all your indicators are normal. After the operation, it will be your turn." "How can you say no?" "Of course I can." I responded to her coldly, my eyes like a knife. "I don't want to do it." Doris in the ward suddenly burst into tears, her voice soft, with a bit of coquettishness and pleading. "Uncle William, please save me. I don't want to die." Anyone who saw her frail appearance would feel pity for her. However, I am no longer the fool who was deceived by her in my previous life. She's just a little devil who takes advantage of other people's feelings. I sat up, ripped off the hospital gown at the foot of the bed, and threw it on the bed. The blue and white striped hospital gown became a symbol of shame in my eyes. I didn't want to wear it again for a moment. How could I be so stupid as to agree to give this little devil a kidney? "William, what are you doing?" "Don't do anything rash." Jessica was so anxious that she didn't know what to do. She reached out to hold me down and make me lie back. "Don't touch me." I pushed her hand away fiercely and glared at her with disgust. "None of your business is my business." "Uncle William, don't be angry. Please don't leave me." Doris struggled on the bed, and her thin body fell to the ground because she exerted too much force. She burst into tears in pain. "Uncle William, I beg you, please save me. Only you can save me." She cried and struggled to get up, reached out to grab the corner of my clothes, her eyes full of tears. Looking at her, I didn't have a trace of pity in my heart, but just wanted to slap her hard. In my previous life, I was deeply deceived by her pitiful appearance, and finally agreed to let her stay at home and donate my kidney to her. For her, I spent all my money and tried my best to treat her illness. The result? In order to monopolize our love, she cruelly pushed her 4-year-old son, Justin, into the river and told me that Justin ran away and she couldn't find him anywhere. If I hadn't become a spirit and heard her conversation with Jessica with my own ears, I would never have known the truth. "William, are you crazy? The surgery has been scheduled, and now you say you don't want to donate? Do you think Doris S. life is a joke?" Jessica screamed. The gentle and virtuous mask was instantly broken, revealing her hideous appearance. "My life is not a life. Why should I donate my kidney to an outsider?" How can you say that?" Jessica was so angry that she was shaking. Her eyes were red. "Doris is just a child. How can you be so cruel? Heartless." I pointed at myself, almost laughing out loud in anger. "Jessica, I worked so hard to earn money to support our family, but you order me around like a dog, and you still have the nerve to say I'm heartless? Who did that for? It was for this family. Jessica took a step back at the coldness in my eyes and defended herself aggrievedly. Doris is so pitiful. We have the ability to help her, so we should help her. You promised it at the beginning. Why did you change now? I regret it. I interrupted her without hesitation. Jessica, I'm telling you, I won't do this surgery. William, I was so blind that I fell in love with a cold-blooded man like you. If you don't care about Doris' life or death, then we'll get divorced. I can't live with a heartless person like you. Jessica couldn't help it anymore. Her emotions completely broke down, and she yelled, You want a divorce? I have no objection. Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. I was too lazy to talk nonsense with her and turned to walk towards the door of the ward. I really wanted to break off relations with this woman immediately and never have anything to do with her again. No, I don't agree. Seeing that I was really going to leave, Jessica panicked and rushed over to me and grabbed my arm. She shouted hysterically, William, you can't do this to me. I gave birth to your children and took care of the housework. I have at least worked hard. How can you just leave like this? Let go. I shook her hand off and turned away from her. Jessica was frightened by the coldness in my eyes and took 2 steps back, fell to the ground, and tears rolled down like beads from a broken string. William, I beg you, please consider Doris' life or death. She really can't live without you. That's your business. It has nothing to do with me. I didn't even look at her and strode out of the ward without looking back. William, you bastard. I curse you to die a horrible death. Jessica cursed at my back, her eyes full of resentment and hatred. I walked out of the hospital, took a deep breath of fresh air, and immediately felt refreshed. In this new life, I will never let tragedy happen again. In my previous life, I was busy with work and ignored Justin. When he left, he had almost no feelings for me and became closer to the heartless Doris. Thinking of this, I felt guilty. I must make it up to my son and give him the best love. Now, I will go pick up Justin. In early summer in Bincheng, the sun is warm and the air is filled with the fragrance of grass and trees. It is the most pleasant season. When I arrived at the kindergarten, it was already 10 o'clock. In the yard, the children were playing happily. In the crowd, I saw that thin figure, my son Justin. Justin was wearing a blue cartoon t-shirt, standing obediently behind the children, waiting to slide. Justin, I shouted excitedly, walking towards him. Justin heard the sound and turned his head sharply. When he saw it was me, he was stunned for a moment, and his eyes lit up. Then, he ran towards me happily like a little bird. I quickly squatted down and hugged him tightly in my arms. The scene of me picking up Justin in my previous life reappeared in front of me. His face was swollen and gray, his body was cold, and no matter how I called out to him, he didn't respond. Thinking back to that scene, my heart aches. This time, I hugged him tightly, feeling his soft and milky body, as if I had grasped a lost treasure. Daddy, Daddy! Justin hugged my neck and called out in a baby voice. Hey, my baby! I responded to my son's call with tears in my eyes. Justin's voice was full of surprise and disbelief. Dad, why are you here? I kissed his chubby little face and said softly, Daddy is here to pick you up to eat delicious food and have fun, okay? Justin, are you happy? I looked at his happy little face and couldn't help asking. Justin nodded excitedly, with a smile on his face. I'm so happy, Dad. Can we go play? His little eyes were shining, as if he wanted to take in all the beauty of the world. I smiled and patted his head. Of course, today belongs to you. Go wherever you want. Justin, where should we go to have fun? I asked, lowering my head. Justin looked up, excited like a little dreamer. I want to eat a super big hamburger, watch cartoons, and go to the amusement park. I smiled, feeling a little touched. Okay, I'll make it happen for you. I couldn't help but touch his nose, my heart full of love for him. We soon arrived at the shopping mall in the city center. Justin was attracted by the dazzling array of toys and snacks and could hardly walk. I couldn't help but take out my wallet and bought a bag full of snacks and a few of his favorite toys. I was filled with the satisfaction of a father when I carried them in my hands. He hugged me and almost jumped up with excitement. Dad, you are so good. You are the best dad in the world. I looked down at his smile and my heart softened. You are the best son, I replied lovingly, took him to eat his favorite burger, and then went to the cinema to watch the latest cartoon. Seeing him laughing so happily, I also laughed unconsciously. After leaving the theater, Justin started to act like a spoiled child again, clamoring to go to the amusement park. I naturally had no reason to refuse this request. We played the train, bumper cars, and pirate ship and the laughter echoed in the playground. Especially on the carousel, Justin's eyes were shining with excitement. He held the handrail tightly. His eyes were focused and innocent. However, when the carousel started to spin, Justin suddenly let go of the handrail, stood up, and reached out to grab the ribbon. My heart suddenly rose, and I almost instinctively reached out to grab his arm, fearing that he would fall. As a result, Justin cried out in pain, and a painful expression suddenly appeared on his face. My heart tightened, and I hugged him tightly. "What's wrong, baby? Where does it hurt?" He sobbed and said in a voice that only we could hear, "Dad, it was Sister Doris. She pushed me onto the table, and my hands hurt." This sentence seemed to tug at my heart. My heart tightened, and I quickly lifted Justin's sleeve. Sure enough, I saw an obvious bruise on his arm, as if he had hit something hard. I suppressed my anger and asked, "Are there any other bruises?" Justin nodded timidly. After the carousel stopped, I quickly took Justin to one side and lifted his sleeve. I found some red and purple marks on it, like the marks of being pinched, although it was not very obvious. I felt a sharp pain in my heart and whispered, "Did Sister Doris do this?" He lowered his head and tears fell. She said that if I told my parents, they would not like me anymore and would drive me away. I hugged Justin tightly, feeling sad at heart. "Baby, tell Daddy why Doris did this?" Justin choked and sobbed. She said that if I died, Mom and Dad would only love her. My heart sank instantly. I couldn't understand how such a young child could have such a vicious thought. Some memories of the past flashed through my mind. I couldn't help but take a deep breath and ask softly, "Justin, have you told your mother?" Justin nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I told Mom, but Mom said Doris was right. She said I was lying and that I fell down by myself. Mom even scolded me." Hearing my son say this, my heart felt as if it was grasped by an ice-cold hand. I felt extremely uncomfortable. I hugged Justin tightly and said in a hoarse voice, "You are Daddy's favorite person. How can I not like you? Daddy will always love you and will always protect you." Justin raised his head with a little anxiety and expectation in his eyes. He asked carefully, "Dad, you won't dislike me anymore, right?" I gently wiped away the tears from his eyes and said in a trembling voice, "Silly child, how could Daddy not like you? You are Daddy's most precious baby. Daddy will protect you and will not let anyone bully you again." Justin finally smiled, so innocently, and his tears gradually disappeared. "Dad, I love you too," he said in a baby voice. I felt warm inside and was about to continue to accompany him when my cell phone suddenly rang. I looked at the caller ID and it was Jessica. I felt disgusted and wanted to answer the phone to ask for clarification, but when I saw her defending Doris, I was annoyed and hung up the phone. She seemed a little crazy and kept calling me. I finally decided to turn off the phone and stop thinking about these unpleasant things. I looked down at Justin, and suddenly I understood. From now on, it will just be you and Dad, the two of us living together, okay? After hearing this, Justin agreed without hesitation. "Okay, where are Mom and Doris?" I asked in confusion. "Let them live together." Justin's eyes showed no hesitation, as if he already knew it. In this year, Jessica put almost all her energy on Doris and became less and less patient with Justin, often making him feel scared. I gently touched Justin's head and silently vowed in my heart that I would give him the best life in the future. "Okay, let them live." I smiled slightly, but I had a deep determination in my heart. In the evening, we went to eat Justin's favorite steak before returning home. As soon as I walked in, I saw Jessica sitting on the sofa. She looked unhappy and stared at me, as if she had something to say. Jessica's facial features were ordinary and only barely passable when put together. She was dressed exquisitely, but her complexion and mental state looked haggard, as if she had no time to take care of herself. Since Doris appeared, her attention was completely attracted by the child, and things at home began to become chaotic. Today, her face was gloomy, her mouth was long, and she looked full of suppressed anger. When she saw Justin and I coming home, she stood up suddenly, pointed at me, and asked, "William, what do you want to do? Where did you take Justin?" I looked up at her and said calmly, "What's wrong with playing? Is it not okay?" I knew she was anxious, but I had no intention of paying attention to her. Her anger seemed to be ignited by me again. She pointed at me and couldn't say a word. At this time, Justin began to describe his day excitedly, his eyes shining like stars. "Mom, Dad took me to many places, ate super big hamburgers, watched cartoons, and played bumper cars. Justin's description made me feel a little warm in my heart, but Jessica's emotions were getting worse. She saw the smiling faces of Justin and me, while Doris was lifeless and pale on the hospital bed, and her mood collapsed instantly. Enough! Stop talking! She suddenly interrupted Justin with strong dissatisfaction in her voice. Justin stared at her blankly, his eyes quickly filled with tears. Mom. Justin gently. Go to your room and rest for a while. Dad'll be with you soon. Justin pursed his lips, hugged his little bear doll, and nodded. Okay, Dad, I'll wait for you. Watching Justin slowly walk back to his room, I felt a little uncomfortable. Jessica was still standing there, her face even uglier. She bit her lip and brought up Doris' surgery again. William, please think about it again. Doris really can't wait any longer. I looked up at her and sneered. What are you considering? Are you considering donating my kidney to a child who has no blood relationship with me? As soon as I said this, her face changed immediately. How can you say that? She looked at me with gritted teeth. Doris is the daughter of my best friend. I promised her. I said I would take care of her. Do you know what she did behind my back? I interrupted her, my anger rising again. She bullied Justin and beat him up. How could you just turn a blind eye? She was stunned for a moment, then quickly retorted, No, there is no such thing. I asked Doris, and she said that Justin fell by himself, and it had nothing to do with her. My face darkened. Even if Doris hit him, you chose to believe her instead of your own son? My voice was filled with anger, but also deep disappointment. Jessica's tone was still tough. She couldn't control her temper and hit Justin accidentally. What's wrong? Justin is also naughty. It's no big deal. You are a grown man. Why do you care so much about these little things? She became more and more confident as she spoke, as if she was defending herself, and even compared it to the time she was beaten by her brother when she was a child. How can you be so petty, a grown man? Can't you tolerate a little injustice to a child? Doris doesn't have parents, so we have to take care of her more when she is sick. I couldn't understand her logic. She totally took her own stupidity and unreasonableness for granted and dared to defend Doris in this way. Who is Doris to you? I looked at her, my heart full of confusion and anger. You would rather push your son aside to protect her, a child who has nothing to do with you. Don't you really know what you are doing? Jessica was stunned. After a moment, she suddenly reacted and seemed to realize the meaning of my suspicion and anger. She quickly denied. She's my best friend's daughter. Can't I take care of her? What do you think? Do you think she's my daughter? Her expression was full of hurt. How could you doubt me? I promised my best friend that I would take care of her. She helped me before. How could I just stand by and watch her die? Listening to her words, I sneered in my heart. Her so-called care was just for her own benefit and guilt, and she didn't consider Justin's feelings at all. Thinking back to the past, I couldn't help but feel a chill in my heart. I grew up in an orphanage, and my desire for home was deeper than anyone else. When I was in college, I bought a house with the money I earned from starting a business and gradually realized my dream. In the end, I chose Jessica, who was gentle and kind, and I thought she was the warm woman I wanted. However, the appearance of Doris completely changed everything. She made this once harmonious family fall apart. I could never understand how Jessica could be so blind to protect a child who had no blood relationship with her. I won't spend another penny on this girl. Whether she lives or dies, it has nothing to do with me. Seeing Jessica's anger, I knew she was threatening me with her old tricks again. She stood there with anger burning in her eyes, as if thinking about how to make me compromise. She had already taken our marriage for granted, and I was tired of it. Over the years, I've been working hard for this family, with almost no resistance. But now, when she mentioned divorce, I was not as weak as before. She looked at me coldly, and was obviously a little flustered. She thought I would never resist, but I am no longer the man who is devoted to the family. William, do you really think I don't dare to divorce you? She slapped the table angrily and stood up, her tone sharp and harsh. She felt that she was still in control of everything, and that as long as she threatened me, I would be under her control again. But I looked at her coldly and replied indifferently, Divorce tomorrow. These 5 words, simple but full of determination, stunned her. Her face suddenly turned pale, and the panic she had never seen before quickly surged into her heart. She couldn't understand why I was so calm. She thought that every time I mentioned divorce, I would immediately bow my head, but this time I didn't. She tried to calm down, crossed her arms, and looked at me coldly. Divorce is fine, but I have conditions. Justin is my son, and I want to take him away. I have given so much to this family over the years, and we have to divide the property equally. There was a hint of threat in her tone, but I smiled. Equally? I haven't even settled the score with you for embezzling the family savings to pay for Doris's medical treatment, and now you want to divide the property equally. I responded coldly, without any emotion in my eyes. Her face froze. Obviously, she didn't expect me to bring up this matter. She tried to defend herself. She is my friend's daughter. It is my duty to take care of her. Besides, if it wasn't for taking care of you and this family, how could I miss the best opportunity of my career? How are you going to compensate me for these losses? She sounded justified, but I could only feel disgusted. I used to think she was a gentle woman, but I was really a fool for many years. Now I'm no longer soft-hearted. Facing her expressionless face, I only felt indifference. Jessica, I'll say it one last time. We can get a divorce. Justin and all the property belong to me. In exchange, I agreed to donate my kidney to Doris. I said calmly, without any emotion. From now on, we will break up completely. No one owes each other anything. Don't mention the property anymore. It's up to you to decide whether you agree or not. She was stunned. She didn't expect me to make such a request. She knew about the kidney donation, but she couldn't accept me giving up my property. Her lips began to tremble, and she gritted her teeth and said, You are forcing me. I'm just giving you a choice. I said calmly, think about it carefully. She was obviously struggling internally, with the tempting properties on one side and Doris's life and death on the other. In the end, she chose the latter. Okay, I promise you. She agreed with difficulty, but the drama in her heart had already begun. She would not give up easily, and she felt that she could definitely turn the tables. She looked at me, squeezed out a few tears, and tried to hold my hand. William, don't worry. I will always be Justin's mother, and you will always be the closest person to me. I didn't move, and her hand stayed in the air. I coldly avoided her hand, my tone still cold. The agreement will be signed tomorrow. I hope you will do what you say. I knew what she was thinking, but it was no longer my business. She understood my determination and was thinking about how to turn the situation around. She began to gain confidence and felt that everything was under her control. Okay, I will definitely do it for Doris and for our family. She smiled proudly, as if everything was in her plan. I didn't respond to her, I just looked at her coldly. She thought she had a good hand in front of me, but she was wrong. I was no longer the man who believed in her unconditionally. There was a sly flash in her eyes, and she thought, with my weakness and her tenderness, she could eventually pull me back into her arms. She didn't believe I would really leave her completely, and as long as there was a chance, she could make everything go back to the way it was before. Oh man, after all, can't live without women. She thought proudly in her heart, as if she had seen the scene of me asking her to remarry. She looked at me again, pretending to smile reluctantly, and her voice was a little proud. William, I won't be by your side in the future. You have to take care of yourself. I still replied coldly. I will draft the divorce agreement tonight and show it to you. Sign it if you have no objection. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. She watched me walk towards the room, glared at me angrily, and finally slammed the door and left. I breathed a long sigh of relief, watching her disappear out the door, and the haze that had been suppressed in my heart for a long time finally dissipated. It was all over, and I could start a new life. As for donating a kidney, she can have a sweet dream tonight. Anyway, from now on, I will never have anything to do with her again. Sitting in the divorce office of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I looked at Jessica. Her expression was complicated, with unwillingness in her eyes and a hint of calculation at the corners of her mouth. I sat there calmly, and I felt a long-lost sense of relief in my heart, as if this bitter journey had finally come to an end. Divorce is not a trivial matter. Would you please reconsider it? The staff member looked at us and spoke softly, without any coercion. She seemed to be trying to persuade us. We've decided, I said firmly, without hesitation. Yes, we've decided. Jessica quickly agreed, as if she was worried that I would waver. The staff member glanced at us and then looked down at the information. I knew she had questions in her mind. Jessica was just a housewife, and I had always seemed to have unchanging loyalty and responsibility to this family. Why did it come to this? The young girl lowered her voice, as if she was thinking about Jessica. Marriage is a big deal. Don't be impulsive. Some men decide to divorce after they find a new love. Have you really thought about it? Your son is still so young. Can you bear to let him grow up without his parents? I could sense her kindness, but I didn't respond. I looked at her, not wanting to waste time discussing things that no longer belonged to me. Jessica lost her patience and interrupted her. We know our own business. Please complete the formalities as soon as possible. The staff shook their heads helplessly and started to operate the computer. Are you sure you have no objection? Stamp it, I said in a calm tone, as if all this was already in the past. As the divorce certificate was signed, I felt a little empty, but more of a sense of relief. This family will finally have nothing to do with me. Jessica snatched the divorce certificate and rolled her eyes at the staff. You're such a waste of time. After we walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, before I could say anything, Jessica couldn't wait to reach out and pull my arm. William, let's go to the hospital. Doris is still waiting. I quickly avoided her hand, with a hint of sarcasm on my lips. I promised you, but I didn't say today. I haven't been feeling well recently, so I need to take care of myself first. Her face instantly became stiff, her eyes full of disbelief. What did you say? You promised me that. I agreed to donate my kidney, but I didn't say when. I responded calmly, as if this was just a minor episode. Just wait. You. She pointed at me angrily. William, you are so cruel. Divorce is unfair. You have to take out the house and money and divide it equally. Otherwise, I will sue you for cheating. I sneered, thinking this was a little funny. Jessica, have you forgotten that the house is my premarital property, and your name is not on the property certificate? As for the money, it's earned after marriage, so there's no problem with splitting it equally. But the money you used to pay for Doris's medical treatment is a bit problematic. You spent our common property, and I never agreed to you doing this. She shuddered suddenly, pointed at me, and trembled with anger. You are slandering me. The money is mine. What does it have to do with you? Your own. I approached her step by step. When you got married, your family gave you only a few quilts as a dowry, and I bought you your wedding clothes. You quit your job to become a housewife. Where did you get the money from? She began to feel guilty and lowered her head, not daring to look me in the face. Tears began to well up in her eyes. William, please have mercy and save Doris. I really can't do anything. Don't waste your energy. It's impossible. I refused coldly. Her expression suddenly turned ugly, and she threatened me with gritted teeth. Don't go too far. If anything happens to Doris, I won't let you go. I said dismissively, I'm always at your service. Her voice was filled with anger, but I remained calm and unmoved. Jessica, let me say this one last time. If you have any objections to the divorce agreement, go to court and sue me. I'm waiting for your lawyer's letter. Now, please stay away from me. I really think you're disgusting. She was stunned, obviously not expecting me to be so decisive. The man who used to obey her in everything finally exploded today. I turned around and left, never looking back. She stood there, her face turning blue and white like a roller coaster. She looked at my back, her heart filled with powerlessness and unwillingness. When I left, I felt a long-lost sense of relief. Finally, it was all over. The past was only the past. Jessica could deal with Doris' problem on her own. She wants me to regret it? She herself might regret it sooner or later. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, I drove away, feeling surprisingly relaxed. As I was about to hit the road, Jessica suddenly appeared in the rearview mirror. She chased after me for a few steps and banged on the car door. I didn't look at her, but slowly lowered the window. William, can you take me to the hospital? Doris is still waiting for me in the hospital. There was a hint of pleading in her voice, and a familiar emotion flashed in her eyes. Pitiful. In the past, such a look made me soft-hearted, and it was difficult to refuse her. But today, I just looked at her coldly. It's not convenient for me. I responded briefly, without a trace of warmth in my tone. Her eyes suddenly turned red, tears flashing. William, I know you are still angry, but you also know Doris' situation. I can't just ignore her. Even if we are divorced, we once had feelings for each other. Shouldn't you help me? After all, I am Justin's mother. This family relationship cannot be severed. She tried to use emotion as a weapon, using Justin as a bond to win me over. She knew how much this meant to me. She spoke with sincerity, as if she was thinking about me, but these words no longer moved me. I stared at her without changing my tone. There will be no connection between you and me from now on. You're not qualified to mention Justin again. Before I could finish my words, I stepped on the accelerator and drove away from where she was, leaving her standing alone. In the rearview mirror, her angry figure became farther and farther away. Her face was full of resentment, but I was not shaken by it. She yelled at me, William, you are not a man. Just wait. I will make you regret it. Her words did not touch me, but made me feel relieved. After the divorce, the two women who had weighed on my heart finally disappeared. I no longer need to live for their emotional burden. I suddenly realized that my weakness and stupidity were all for others, and I ignored the life I should have. When I got home, I looked around. This was where Jessica and I lived together, and every corner bore traces of our past. The sofa seemed to still have her body temperature. Her favorite magazines were on the coffee table, and the air was filled with the scent of her usual perfume. There was our wedding photo on the bedside table in the bedroom. Her bright smile made me feel a little sick. I walked over, grabbed the photo without hesitation, and threw it to the ground. The glass frame was broken and the photo was distorted. At that moment, I felt relieved, and a heavy stone in my heart finally fell to the ground. This home represents the pain and helplessness of the past. I no longer wanted to be bound by these things, so I decided to sell them, use the money to invest, and start a new life. I had already planned to take advantage of the opportunity of rebirth and take advantage of future stock market fluctuations to make a fortune. In my previous life, I had been struggling in the stock market for many years. Now it was time to use this experience to seize this opportunity. But before that, I had to do one thing first: change the locks. Jessica still had the keys to both of our houses, and I didn't want her to come in and out as she pleased. Now that everything was over, I didn't want to have anything to do with her anymore. To ensure a complete break, I called a locksmith and quickly replaced the lock. From then on, this house no longer belonged to us and had nothing to do with her at all. After changing the locks, I hurried to another apartment in the same neighborhood. I rented this apartment out, and the monthly rent could bring me a stable income. Jessica also knew about this apartment. When Jessica's family needed money for something, she had mentioned selling the house. Jessica's brother, Ryan, is the only son in Jessica's family. He has been spoiled since childhood and has a lazy personality and is not motivated to make progress. He is nearly 30 years old and changes jobs every few days. Even his basic living expenses depend on his parents. Jessica's family has a meager income and lives a tight life. This time, Ryan finally found a good girlfriend and thought they could get married smoothly, but the conditions she put forward left him helpless. His girlfriend required that they must have an independent wedding house, and her name must be written on the property certificate, and it must be bought in full. Ryan was not able to meet these conditions, so the girl left him in anger. Ryan went home helplessly, discussed with his parents, and finally decided to ask me for help. Jessica was spoiled since she was a child, and she couldn't refuse her brother's request. Under her brother's urging, she actually agreed to help sell my rental house. I always felt that I was related to Jessica's family, so it wouldn't hurt to help them. However, Ryan's laziness made me unhappy. He didn't make any progress, but still pinned all his hopes on others. This incident made me realize that I had been supporting their family, but never received any real reward. Jessica and her family always took my efforts for granted. Jessica cried and made a scene, asking me to agree to the house, almost forcing me to refuse. At that time, I let her succeed because of my soft heart, and I agreed to her request. Now, standing here looking at this house, I can only sneer in my heart. Dream on. All this has ended long ago. I decided to move in with Justin first, and live here temporarily, and move to a better place when we make some money. This house is not bad, with north-south ventilation and very good lighting. The living room is connected to the balcony, and the sunlight pours in, making the whole room warm and bright. Creamy yellow wall paint, log-colored floor, simple but very practical furniture, fresh decoration, no extra decoration, exactly the style I like. Today, I took a day off. The room is fully furnished. I can go to the mall to buy some daily necessities and move in. As for the things in the previous house, except for my clothes, I don't need anything else. I plan to have someone pack up Jessica and Doris' things and send them directly to her parents' home. After changing the locks, I went to the real estate agency and updated the sale information. For bedrooms and 2 living rooms, 140 square meters, north-south ventilation, fine decoration, complete home appliances and furniture. Ready to move in, price $3.5 million. If you are serious about buying, we can negotiate. I said calmly. The agent was full of enthusiasm. Okay, don't worry, owner. We will find a suitable buyer as soon as possible. After agreeing on a time with him, I went to the bank to report the loss of my bank card and cancel Jessica's additional card. Jessica likes to swipe my card. When she finds out the card can't be swiped, she'll probably be so angry that she'll jump to her feet. I thought with a sneer, feeling a little relieved. Then I went to the mall and did some shopping. From today on, I will start a new life. In the hospital, Jessica walked quickly into Doris' ward. The dialysis was about to begin, and Doris sat on the bed, looking at the door expectantly. When she saw Jessica coming in, a glimmer of hope flashed in her eyes. "Aunt Chun," she called softly, then turned her head to look at the door, lowered her head in disappointment. "Isn't Uncle William here?" "Doris, Uncle William is busy for the time being, so he'll come back later." There was a hint of comfort in Jessica's voice, but I knew that her heart was filled with anxiety. Doris fell on the bed and burst into tears. "I know Uncle William doesn't like me. He hates me and wishes I were dead." There was some truth in what she said, but Jessica couldn't tell her that. She could only try to comfort her. "Don't worry. Auntie will definitely let him come." "Really?" Doris stopped crying and looked at her with tears in her eyes. "Really?" Jessica nodded, but fell into deep despair. She knew that only I could save Doris, but I had made my decision. All her efforts seemed doomed to fail. Later, Jessica went to the doctor and asked about Doris's condition. "Doctor, how is Doris? Can her disease be cured?" The doctor looked at her with a trace of pity in his eyes. "Doris's condition is deteriorating very quickly. We must find a kidney source for transplantation as soon as possible, otherwise." He didn't continue talking, but the implication was clear. How could this happen? Jessica's face turned pale in an instant. Her body shook, and she almost fainted. The doctor quickly comforted her. "Don't worry too much. Medicine is so advanced, there will always be a way. There is no other way except a kidney transplant." Jessica shook her head weakly. Her only hope was that I would change my mind and donate my kidney to Doris. She anxiously took out her phone and tried to contact me, but the call was not connected. So she sent a WeChat message. "William, can we talk again?" Seeing that the other party was not her friend and the message showed a red exclamation mark, Jessica's hands froze and she was stunned. I actually deleted her from my WeChat friends? She couldn't believe it, and her panic grew. The phone call was unreachable, and WeChat was blocked, which seemed to indicate that I had completely lost contact with her. Her heart began to panic, as if she had been thrown into an ice cellar, the cold air pressing into her heart. She couldn't believe that I was really going to break up with her. "No, I can't give up. I must make William agree to save Doris." She stood up and swore in her heart. Her eyes flashed with determination. She wanted to find me at any cost. Just then, passing by the nurse station, the nurse stopped her and said, "Sister Chun, Doris's treatment fee is in arrears. She needs to pay immediately, otherwise she can't continue with the treatment." "How much?" Jessica asked hurriedly. 10,000. The nurse said. 10,000. She was stunned and suddenly felt anxious. "Yes, I gave you the bill a long time ago, but you haven't paid it yet. The operation has been canceled. Please pay the 10,000 first." "Okay, I'll go pay right away." Jessica was anxious and quickly walked to the cashier. When she handed over her card, she was still thinking if the money was enough. But she found that there was not enough money in her account. She spent all the money that Carrie had, buying some things for her parents and some nutritional supplements for Doris. She didn't realize that she was overly dependent on me until now, and she realized that I was completely determined to leave her. She was a little flustered. She took out my card from her bag and handed it to the nurse. "Use this card." Her smile could not hide her anxiety. The nurse took the card and tried to swipe it, but the screen showed transaction failed. She asked hastily, "Can't swipe? What does that mean? It's impossible. There should be more than 300,000 yuan in the card." Her voice began to sharpen, and she seemed a little out of control. The nurse just shrugged and swiped the card again, but the voice was still transaction failed. "This card has been reported lost and cannot be used." The nurse explained calmly. She clenched her teeth and forced herself to smile. Yes, I lost my card a few days ago, so I reported it lost. I forgot about it when I found it." I could clearly feel the panic and uneasiness in her words. "It's okay, just change another one." The nurse still said patiently, as if she could understand her anxiety. Jessica's finger stopped at the supplementary card I had issued for her. She knew that I might have tampered with the card. She hesitated for a moment, took out the supplementary card from her bag, and handed it to the nurse with a smile. Soon, the nurse looked up again. "It still doesn't work. Do you have any other cards?" At that moment, I knew her heart sank completely. Her expression had become irrational, and a hint of madness flashed in her eyes. She couldn't help cursing in her heart. "William, you are too cruel." She shook her head and whispered to herself, "I'll come back to pay the bill later." Then she walked out of the hospital corridor, trembling. She called me, but the other end of the line gave a cold tone. "The number you dialed is busy. Please try again later." Her hands trembled slightly, and anxiety surged like a tide. Every time she called me, I didn't answer. She finally realized that I had really decided to completely cut off all ties with her and that I didn't even have the slightest bit of mercy left in me. The emotions that welled up in her heart were so strong that I could almost empathize with them. Anger, fear, helplessness, these negative emotions were entangled together, and she almost couldn't stand up. She finally understood that I would never look back. I can't give up like this. She bit her lips hard. A hint of ruthlessness flashed in her eyes. I knew she had made up her mind. She couldn't give up so easily. She wanted to come to me in person, talk things over face to face, and even take back everything that belonged to her. She felt that the house, car, savings, these things that should have belonged to her, had been taken away by me. She no longer hesitated, rushed out of the hospital, hailed a taxi, and headed straight to our home. She wondered in her heart, would I continue to be so cruel to her? She was full of doubts, but she still didn't want to believe that I would be so cruel to her. When she ran to the door of her house, panting, and took out the key to open the door, she found that the key could not be inserted at all. At that moment, she was stunned. She couldn't figure out, how could I do this? Change the lock. Her anger exploded instantly, and she banged on the door angrily, her voice full of desperation. William, come out. I know you are home. Open the door. However, all she got in response was deep silence. She began to collapse. All her rationality began to dissipate, and her tears blurred her vision. She couldn't accept this fact. She was not even allowed to enter the house. All this was simply unbearable torture for her. She thought that maybe I was angry about Doris and was acting on impulse, but she still refused to believe that I would really be so heartless. She banged on the door and shouted hysterically, William, come out. She couldn't stop. She felt she had to express her anger and dissatisfaction in this way. Just when she was filled with despair, the neighbor next door opened the door and saw her so out of control. So he asked curiously, Xiao-chun, what's wrong? You didn't bring your keys? She hurriedly wiped away her tears and forced a smile. Yes, I lost my keys, and I'm worried. She knew that she couldn't let anyone know that her relationship with me had broken down, especially that we were getting divorced. She thought that if it got out, it would only make things worse. The neighbor kindly reminded her, I just saw him go out and walk towards the community. Is he going to your house? That sentence suddenly alerted her. Yes, the house. We still have a house, which I promised to give to Ryan. She knew that I would never go back on my word. She made up her mind, thanked her neighbor, and quickly ran to the apartment, thinking silently, William, can you hold on? When she hurried to the door and took out the key to open the door, she was shocked again. The lock had been changed. She was stunned for a moment. Everything in front of her was completely different from her expectations. How could this happen? Why is it like this? She whispered, unable to accept this reality. Anger filled her heart. You bastard. Do you really think I'm easy to bully? She cursed at the door and couldn't help but kick it. The neighbors around turned around and looked at her, and when they heard her cursing, they all gave her strange looks. She was completely disregarding everything and only thinking about her own anger. She was no longer as gentle and virtuous as usual, but a woman out of control. She made up her mind that no matter what, she would wait for William, wait for him to come back. She began a plan to no longer give him any face and publicly expose all his coldness and ruthlessness. She decided to make trouble in the neighborhood first, and if that didn't work, she would go to my workplace and let everyone know the truth. She no longer worried about the consequences. She just wanted to get her rights as soon as possible, even everything to Doris. At this time, Jessica no longer had her previous gentle and virtuous image. She looked like a shrew, with disheveled hair and untidy clothes. She had completely lost her usual elegance and dignity. Her mentality became more extreme, and she was determined not to give in and force me to face her anger. I'll wait for you at the door when I get back, and you won't come back. She thought to herself this time, she would definitely not give me any face. I will expose all your secrets and let everyone see what kind of person you really are. She gritted her teeth, as if she had made up her mind that she would no longer be afraid of me. For Doris, I could give up everything. She swore to herself, thinking that if she couldn't make any progress in the community, she would go to my workplace and let everyone see my cold-bloodedness. She sat in front of the unit door, holding her arms tightly against her chest, waiting for me to show up. However, time passed little by little, and there was still no sign of me. Seeing that lunchtime was approaching, the fragrance wafted out of the neighbor's window, and her stomach began to growl. I haven't had a good meal since last night. She lowered her head and covered her stomach, feeling dizzy and anxious. What on earth has happened to this damn man? Everything has changed after he woke up. Everything was fine before. She felt like a trapped beast, gradually losing her mind in anger and becoming restless. Hunger, exhaustion, and despair all mixed together, making her feel like she was about to collapse. Gradually, all the emotions came up, forcing her to breathe. She stood up and began to pace back and forth at the door. Her heart was in turmoil, and she couldn't control it. At that moment, she really felt like a stray dog, with nowhere to go and completely homeless. The phone suddenly rang, pulling her back from her anxious mood. She frantically took out her phone from her pocket and saw that the caller ID was her brother Ryan. "Hey, brother." Her voice was hoarse, with a strong nasal tone and a hint of crying. On the other end of the phone, Ryan didn't seem to notice her abnormality. His voice was hurried and impatient. "Jessica, where are you? Come home quickly. Your parents are waiting for you. There's something important." There was obvious urgency in Ryan's voice. "What's up, brother? I'm busy right now." Her mind was full of me, and she had no time to care about anything else. There was a hint of impatience in her tone. "Stop talking nonsense and come back quickly. This is a big deal, and it can't be explained over the phone." Ryan's voice suddenly rose an octave, his tone unquestionable. "Brother, I really—" She wanted to say something else, but was rudely interrupted by Ryan. "You still have a mind to hang out outside? Come back here right now. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences," Ryan said, and hung up the phone without any hesitation. Listening to the busy tone on the phone, Jessica's irritability intensified. She thought that since her parents and brother were waiting at home, there must be something important. Maybe this incident can bring her a turnaround and help her solve the current dilemma. She thought, William values her parents very much. If her parents come forward to mediate, maybe she can change my decision. Without further hesitation, she hurried out of the community, hailed a taxi, and headed straight home. Jessica's home was in Dongshang District, in a dilapidated state-owned enterprise family compound. The environment here is completely different from her life in the high-end residential area. The building was built in the 1980s, and the gray walls have long been modeled, with the wall paint peeling off, revealing the dull cement color. The corridor was filled with the smell of mold and a faint smell of urine, and the dim light made people's eyes sore. Jessica lived on the third floor, and the rusty security door on the door was covered with small advertisements, and the paint was peeling, revealing mottled metal. She took a deep breath, tried to ignore the strange smell in the air, and stepped into the narrow corridor. The dim light in the corridor flickered, shining on her body, making her look even more embarrassed. She finally arrived at her home after walking up the bumpy concrete steps. She knocked on the door, her heart beating faster and faster, and she felt uneasy. As soon as she entered the door, Jessica saw her parents and brother sitting in the living room. Their faces looked heavy, and the atmosphere was extremely solemn. Jessica's home is not big. The living room is only 15 or 16 square meters, and the light is dim. As soon as she entered the door, 3 pairs of eyes in the room looked at her. I know her family situation. Jessica's parents are in their 50s, both retired workers from state-owned enterprises. Although they have lived frugally all their lives, they have never saved any money. The seemingly simple old couple were actually extremely selfish, especially when it came to money. What they cared about most was how to transfer their daughter's money to their son. Jessica's father, Johnson, is thin, hunched, and has a face full of traces of time. He lost 2 fingers in a work-related accident when he was young and lives on a meager pension after retirement. Her mother, Catherine, is a retired female worker from a textile factory. She is short in stature and has worked in the noise and dust of the factory for many years. She has developed asthma, and her life after retirement is even more difficult. The only thing that comforted them was their son, Ryan, who had achieved nothing but was still expected of him. Although Ryan was not young, he was always idle and eventually found a security job with a meager salary. He asked for money from home every few days and became the vampire of the family. In the end, I was the victim. Jessica and her husband had no power to take anything from me. "Jessica, what have you been doing all this time? If I hadn't asked you to come back in the name of your parents, would you still refuse to show up?" Ryan was furious when he saw Jessica. He pointed at her nose and scolded. "You said you would sell the house to me, but where's the money? There's no sign of it." I can imagine how depressed she was. She was helpless, but she knew more clearly that the root of the problem was not her, but me. She must have felt in her heart that if I hadn't changed, Everything might not be like this. You kid, your sister hasn't even come in yet. Why are you so angry? Wait until she has a rest before you talk. Catherine quickly dissuaded her and attentively pulled Jessica into the house and poured her a glass of water. Jessica, drink some water. Don't blame your brother. He's anxious too. She looked at Jessica and softened her tone. Your brother is under a lot of pressure. His sister-in-law gave him an ultimatum, saying that if he doesn't settle on a house this week, she will break up with him. Think about it. He's in his 30s, and he finally managed to get married. Now he's about to leave. How can he not feel sad? Catherine's words were full of concern. Jessica just said nothing, picked up the water cup, and drank a sip of water. She said expressionlessly, I can't give it to you. There was a little fatigue in her voice. William and I are divorced. Divorce? You and William? The three people in the room asked in unison, obviously shocked by the news. Why divorce? You filed a divorce? Did you get kicked in the head by a donkey? Or is it caught in the door? He is an ATM. Who will be stupid enough to push the ATM away? Ryan immediately got angry and slammed the table and cursed. He knew how good I was to Jessica, and he also knew that her decision to divorce must not have been easy. What do you mean I proposed it? He proposed it. Jessica's eyes were full of grievance. I didn't want to do it either. Then don't break up. Go back and talk to him and get back together. Johnson said with a straight face. It's no use. He's determined to get a divorce. Jessica began to wipe her tears. Why? Is he having an affair? Is there someone else? Ryan asked anxiously. Jessica shook her head. No. Why? She refused to say. If she told them, she knew that the three of them would definitely use a hammer to smash her head open to see what was inside. Catherine began to worry about practical issues. How will the property be divided? Who will Justin belong to? You can't keep Justin, or it will be difficult for you to get married. The house and car were his premarital assets, and the money was in his card. I only have a few $1,000s now, which was the pocket money he gave me before the divorce. Jessica looked helpless. These are all I have now. What? Ryan slammed the table. This bastard. How dare he do this to you? You are his wife, and you even gave birth to a child for him. How dare he leave you with nothing? He gritted his teeth and was so angry that he almost jumped up. What about that apartment? What about the house for your brother? Catherine looked at her sharply. Of course not. We have already signed the agreement. Jessica lowered her head, took out the divorce certificate, and handed it to them. I have nothing to do with him from now on. Her voice was so weak that it was almost inaudible. Catherine's expression changed immediately, and she cried and wailed, Why is my life so miserable? I raised a daughter like you who doesn't live up to expectations. You married an unreliable man, and your brother found a wife who also ran away. How can I live on? Johnson stared at her and said angrily, Okay, stop arguing. Jessica, tell me quickly what's going on. We all know what kind of person William is. It's impossible for him to get a divorce. There must be a reason. Is he having someone else outside? Jessica bit her lip and hesitated to say anything. I knew that the pretty boy must have someone else out there. Ryan was furious. I was wondering why he suddenly changed his ways. Turns out he found someone else. What an ungrateful bastard. You did everything for him back then, and now he's grown wings and wants to kick you away. How dare he? Catherine slapped her thigh angrily. Come on, Jessica. Let's go find him. Let's see who has taken his soul away. Jessica was shocked by their anger and hurriedly advised, Mom, Dad, brother, don't worry. Things are not what you think. It's not like this, then what is it? Tell me. Ryan was so anxious that he jumped up and down. He didn't care if I cheated on him. He only cared about getting the money. He had no interest in my marriage to Jessica. Jessica took a deep breath and finally told him the truth. It's because of Doris. Her voice became lower and lower. Doris is sick, and I promised her mother that I would take care of her. What? The room suddenly became quiet. A few seconds later, Ryan seemed to have heard a huge joke, pointing at Jessica and laughing. Haha, Jessica, did you get kicked in the head by a donkey? Is this why you got divorced? Catherine couldn't believe her ears, and her face turned pale. Jessica, are you kidding me? You gave up your marriage just for the daughter of an outsider. Johnson pointed at Jessica angrily and asked, Whose child is this, Doris? Is she your illegitimate daughter with some wild man? Jessica was stunned, her lips trembling slightly, but she didn't make a sound. Obviously, she didn't expect her father to be so direct. Dad, why do you think so? Her voice trembled, full of grievance and disbelief. There seemed to be a pain in her words that she was unwilling to face. William for a bastard whose identity is unknown and even sold the house to pay for her medical treatment. What do you want us to think? I saw a flash of resentment in Jessica's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. She said calmly, Mom and Dad, I was in front of you every day during that time and never went far away. Don't you know whether I was pregnant or had a child? Catherine realized that it was true. What is her identity then? Who are her parents? Where her family? No one is taking care of her. Jessica looked at her family's burning gazes and lowered her head. She was silent for a long time before she finally spoke. She is the daughter of my good friend. A good friend's daughter? Ryan raised his eyebrows, obviously not believing it. What kind of friend is worthy of your heart and soul? You even give up your home to help her raise a child. Jessica took a deep breath and blushed slightly. This friend is my best friend, the most important friend. Without her, I wouldn't be where I am today. Why haven't we ever heard you mention this? Catherine was a little confused. How could you possibly listen to me? Your heart is all on your brother. You can't even remember how old I am. How could you possibly listen to me about my friends? There was resentment in her tone. Catherine glared at her unhappily and said, You kid, you are jealous of your brother. He is your biological brother. You only have one. Look, no matter how good William was to you in the past, now he says he doesn't want you anymore. Only we and your brother are your lifelong relatives. Johnson's voice was heavy. Ryan interrupted impatiently. I don't care who that friend is. I can't watch you sacrifice our family. Send that Doris away today, as far away as possible. Brother, how can you say that? Jessica stood up suddenly and said angrily, Care? Is this what you call care? You even give up your own home for a stranger's child. Are you worthy of Justin? Are you worthy of us, your family? Ryan fought back angrily. Johnson waved his hand to signal him to stop arguing. Jessica, please explain clearly. Where is your friend? Why doesn't she take care of the child herself? Jessica was stunned, her eyes flickering. She lowered her head for a while before she whispered, She has passed away. Dead. Johnson and Catherine looked at each other with disbelief and shock in their eyes. Where's Doris's dad? Is he dead too? Brother. Jessica glared at Ryan and interrupted him. Don't talk nonsense. Not dead? Where did he go? Why didn't he take care of his own daughter? Ryan didn't let go and continued to press the issue. Jessica turned her eyes away and didn't look at him. My friend entrusted me with it. I just did it. I don't care about the rest. Ryan stared at her suspiciously. Why are you so excited when talking about her dad? Are you having an affair with her dad? Brother, how can you have such a dirty mind? Jessica's face turned red as she accused angrily. No, then you are mentally ill. Ryan snorted coldly, with a hint of sarcasm in his tone. Doris's biological father doesn't want her, but you took her in. You don't want your own home, your own man, your own son. Jessica bit her lip and tried to calm herself down. She knew that now was not the time to argue with her family. Doris was still in the hospital, and the treatment fee had not been settled yet. So she had to find a way to solve it. Dad, Mom, brother, I know you're worried about me, but I've made up my mind. I must take good care of Doris. I can't leave her alone. She said firmly, I beg you, don't force me anymore, okay? Ryan wanted to say something, but was stopped by Catherine. Okay, Ryan. Catherine glared at Ryan, then turned to look at Jessica and said in a gentle tone, Jessica, Mom knows you are a good kid, but you also have to think about your future. How are you going to get married with a child? Mom, Jessica was about to speak when she was interrupted by Ryan. Get married? Who would want her if she's like this? Ryan said bluntly, I think you should just give up on this idea. Go back and beg William before he completely breaks off relations with you. Maybe you can still save this family. Jessica, listen to your mother. Go back and talk to William. He will forgive you. Catherine also advised, I know him best. He is very soft-hearted and cherishes your family very much. He will definitely not want to break up the family. I tried to talk to him nicely, but he didn't listen. Jessica said distressedly, he's different now. He treats me and Doris like enemies. If you let me take out my kidney and give it to your Doris, I will treat you too as my enemies. Don't even mention ignoring you. I will slap you in the face until it's all smashed to pieces. You have such a big face. Ryan waved his big hand in front of Jessica and interrupted her unhappily. Catherine quickly pulled him aside and whispered, Ryan, stop talking. We still have to find a way to make William change his mind. Although Jessica and William are divorced and are no longer husband and wife, he is still a family member to us. Let's talk to him and make sure this relationship is not broken. Yes, at least we have to coax him into selling the house and giving me the proceeds. Ava can't wait. Why don't you go talk to him first? If you can't do it, your father and I will step in. I don't believe he won't give us face. Ryan subconsciously asked, what if it still doesn't work? Catherine's face darkened, and she looked at Jessica. Then go to court and get Justin's custody back. Justin is in your hands. Isn't it easy for you to ask him for things? Catherine pursed her lips as she spoke. Of course, we can't be too drastic. We won't take this step until it's absolutely necessary. He is unkind, but we can't be unjust. After hearing what she said, the whole family was delighted. How could the four of them, working together, still not be able to defeat William, who was all alone? Okay, I'll go find him first. Ryan was afraid that William would run away, so he quickly took out his cell phone and called William. After the phone rang a few times, it was connected. Ryan was delighted. William didn't block him. He still treated him as a family member. This was easy. Hello, William. I'm Big Brother. Where are you now? Ryan tried to make his tone sound more friendly. William's voice came from the other end of the phone, very calmly. I'm outside. What's the matter? Here's the thing, William. Do you have time now? I want to talk to you about Jessica. Ryan asked cautiously. William said calmly. I divorced her. All the formalities are completed. The things will be sent over soon. There's nothing else to talk about. William, I know you're feeling uncomfortable right now, but you can't just leave. Justin is still so young. He can't live without his mother. Ryan started to play the family card. William sneered. Justin has me as a father, which is enough. You can't say that. How about this? I'll come to you right away and we'll talk in person. You wait for me at home. Ryan felt that William was particularly difficult to talk to today, so he quickly hung up the phone. Jessica said, I told you he's different than before. He talks like he's taken bullets. Who caused this? It's you, Ryan said angrily. Okay, I won't say any more. I'll go find him. I didn't care about Ryan's arrival. After all, he was just a busybody. At this time, I was standing in the mall, concentrating on choosing a new mattress. The mattress in the rental house was bought cheaply. The springs had long been loose, and the traces of several rounds of tenants made me unbearable. Today, I decided to get a new one. The mattress in front of me is a high-end luxury model from Australia, worth more than 60,000 yuan. The salesperson next to me kept recommending it, but I didn't have much fluctuation in my heart. Suddenly, a familiar shout interrupted my thoughts. William, William. I turned around and saw a woman in a red dress standing not far away. She was tall, with delicate features, fair skin, and long hair. She was elegant and charming. She is Mia, my college classmate. When the salesperson saw us, saying hello, she stepped aside tactfully. I nodded slightly and responded to her call. Hello, long time no see. It's really you. Mia's voice was sweet and full of surprise. Although her voice was pleasant, I no longer had any feelings for her. Looking back at my college days, I was the president of the society and enjoyed great success, while Mia was my junior. She was not only beautiful, but also very popular in school, and many people were willing to work for her. I helped her solve some problems in the student union and gradually became familiar with her. She liked me to buy things for her and asked me for help, and I never refused. Everyone was optimistic about us and thought we were a good match. I even mustered up the courage to confess my feelings to her after a class reunion, but her answer was ambiguous. I'm still young and want to focus on my studies. From then on, I devoted myself to her and became her 24 filial piety, long-term worker. However, I never realized that she was just using me. Until one day, I accidentally overheard her conversation with her roommate and learned the truth. She actually laughed at me. That William, he has a problem in his brain. He actually wants to pursue me. He is just a poor boy. I don't intend to suffer with him. At that moment, I realized that I was just a tool for her to kill time. She didn't take seriously the things I tried so hard to make up for. I was immediately disappointed and realized that some gaps cannot be bridged. I began to distance myself from her. Later, I chose Jessica. Although she was not beautiful, she was more sincere than Mia in my eyes. She smiled at me with a flash of surprise in her eyes. You look the same. You are still so young and energetic. I responded calmly, thank you. Then I turned to the salesperson and said, this mattress, please issue the invoice. The salesperson quickly prepared, and Mia looked at me from the side. Her eyes seemed to be sizing up my clothes, and when she noticed the brand I was wearing, her eyes suddenly became a little complicated. She began to say to me, a mattress worth more than 60,000 yuan. It's really luxurious. I just smiled faintly. People spend 1/3 of their lives in bed, so of course they should be nice to themselves. Her smile seemed a little subtle, but I didn't care. My bank card easily swiped through the POS machine and paid the more than 60,000 yuan. Mia's expression became more complicated. Obviously, she knew that I had done well after graduation and made a lot of money. She seemed a little dissatisfied, secretly speculating about my current financial situation, and a trace of imbalance flashed in her eyes. However, she quickly adjusted her mood and smiled. William, we have to have a meal and chat. It's time for dinner. I shook my head and politely responded, sorry, I'm busy today and can't spare the time. After that, I turned around and prepared to go to the counter to check out, leave my address, and arrange the delivery time. Mia's eyes flashed with jealousy. When she saw the card I handed over when I checked out, she couldn't help thinking, a house costs millions and lives in a high-end community. Why can't I, Mia, work so hard for so long, but have the same luck as Jessica? She looked at my back and raised her lips. She began to think about how to use various relationships to rebuild the connection between us. After all, I was obedient to her back then, and she believed that as long as I felt her hint, William would definitely obey. I just came out of the mall, carrying a small toy I bought for my son. The bag was so heavy that my fingers were numb from the pressure. But all this made me feel at ease, as if I finally had some sense of control. The noodle shop next to the community, a strong aroma hit my nose, which immediately aroused the hunger in my stomach. There was a row of plastic stools at the door of the noodle shop, and everyone was anxiously waiting for their number to be called. I watched the hustle and bustle and suddenly stopped. I hadn't eaten noodles like this for a long time. I almost didn't dare to look at eels because of Jessica's taste. She said it looked like a snake, which was disgusting, and she was even afraid that it would coil in her stomach and reconnect after she ate it. But now, after the divorce, no one sets limits for me anymore, and I can eat whatever I want as I please. Just as I was standing at the door of the store, I suddenly heard someone calling me. Hey, isn't this William? Did the sun rise from the west today? I turned around and saw a young woman in fancy clothes, with heavy makeup on her face, chewing melon seeds, and smiling with a bit of irony. I didn't have any image of her in my memory, so I guess she was a neighbor and might have heard something from Jessica. She continued to tease. I heard that you are terribly afraid of your wife, but you dare to come out to eat noodles by yourself today? Her words made the people around her start whispering, as if they were full of curiosity about my image. For a moment, I felt a little unhappy, but I did not respond to her provocation. Seeing that I didn't respond, the woman continued to say to the middle-aged man next to her, if you ask me, a man still needs to have status at home so that he can have face outside. Before she finished her words, she continued to mutter to the man, I heard that he gave all his salary to his wife and couldn't even afford to buy her a bottle of water. I was furious, but I said nothing. After all, it was the truth. Jessica nags me every day, saving, and saving again. She always says that she wants to save money for Justin's future studies and marriage. I can't even afford to buy a bottle of water, and always bring my own water cup when discussing business. In order to save money, I almost never attend dinners with colleagues except for necessary social events. All my income is handed over to Jessica, under the euphemism of unified management of family finances. But what is the result? All this money is enjoyed by her, her family, and that ungrateful Doris. If I'm not a waste, then who is a waste? Taking a deep breath, I walked straight to the door of the store. Look, you haven't even eaten noodles, and you don't know how to queue. The young woman's voice sounded behind me again. I ignored her and walked to the door of the store. The waiter smiled and asked, Sir, how many people are there? Just me. I glanced at the hall. It was full of people. The air was mixed with oil, smoke, and the aroma of food, and noisy conversations came one after another. The waiter glanced at me with a hint of hesitation in his eyes. Do you want to queue up or go to the private room? There are still seats in the private room, so you don't have to wait, but the price will be higher. You have to order some side dishes, and there's a minimum consumption. Do you want to? I know the private rooms are more expensive than the lobby, but I'm in a bad mood today, and I want to order something different for myself. Just a private room. I glanced at the young woman who was still arguing with a greasy middle-aged man. She seemed to not understand what was going on and stood there in a daze. She obviously didn't understand why I entered the private room. Why can he go in? We have to wait. Doesn't he look better? She shouted angrily behind him. The gentleman wanted a private room. There are still seats available. If you like, you can go in now. Seeing this, the waiter responded with a smile. The woman snorted disdainfully. Private room? He actually dared to go to a private room. She obviously didn't believe it and thought that I was a bully at home and was just trying to show off today. That little resistance seemed to make me feel a little better. She thought I was just a bully, but today I'm going to show her that I can live differently. I followed the waiter to the private room and walked into a quiet small space decorated in an antique style. Suddenly, I felt that the air became much fresher. The waiter gently placed tea and some snacks on the table and said with a smile, "Sir, please take a look at the menu first. The eel noodles here are freshly made and killed, so they're guaranteed to be fresh." I took the menu and flipped through it and saw a few dishes that made me hungry. Maybe it was because I hadn't enjoyed delicious food for too long, so I couldn't help but feel a little excited. "Give me a large bowl of their signature eel noodles, with an additional portion of eel, a portion of cold mixed white meat, and a serving of pig's trotter soup." I ordered a few strong-flavored dishes, and my mood seemed to relax a little. Finally, I stopped listening to Jessica's nagging and felt it was time to reward myself. The waiter glanced at me and seemed a little surprised at the amount of food I ordered, but still politely reminded me, "Sir, these are quite large portions. Are you sure you can finish them?" I waved my hands and said with a smile, "No problem. I'll let myself eat enough today." There's nothing wrong with eating some delicious food when you're in a good mood. Soon, the dishes were served one after another. The first one served were the cold white meat and the boneless meat. The white meat was as thin as a cicada's wing, with fat and lean parts and a bright color. The aroma of the boneless meat was so fragrant that my appetite was instantly aroused. I picked up a piece of white meat, dipped it in the sauce, and put it in my mouth. It was fresh, spicy, and rich in flavor, so good that it made me forget all my worries. Then came the pig's trotter soup. The snow-white pig's trotter floated in the thick soup, looking soft and delicious. I took a bite and found the soup was rich, the pig's trotters were tasty, and the meat was soft. Every bite was full of satisfaction, and I couldn't help but close my eyes and savor it carefully. This is the real beauty, which is completely different from the days when Jessica was nagging about saving. Then, the signature eel noodles were finally served. The hot noodles exuded an enticing aroma. The eel meat was tender, and the soup was bright red. I couldn't wait to pick up a piece of eel and put it in my mouth. The delicious taste spread in my mouth, one bite after another, and I couldn't stop. I finished the whole bowl of noodles and a few side dishes in one breath, and put down the bowl and chopsticks with satisfaction. After eating, I touched my stomach and felt a sense of relief that I had never felt before. In these years of marriage, I have missed too much simple happiness like this. Today, I realized that I have always lived in the framework set by Jessica for me and have never really enjoyed the beauty of life. I decided, at least for this moment, to live for myself. I wiped my mouth and prepared to pay the bill happily. Just then, the hurried footsteps outside interrupted my thoughts. I didn't notice it, but the man's back looked familiar. He was Jessica's brother, Ryan, who was rushing to the community. Ryan jumped out of the taxi in a hurry. His steps were as fast as if he was in a hurry, and his butt was on fire. I could clearly see that he walked very fast, as if he was afraid that I would run away. Ryan knows what kind of personality I have. Honest, obedient, I listen to Jessica's words, hand over my salary card, and take care of the housework. But he also knows that once I get stubborn, no one can persuade me. This time, he would have to think harder. He secretly planned that he had to convince me today, otherwise this matter would be difficult to handle. He began to rehearse various possible arguments in his mind. "Your sister is so capable that she even quit her job just to take care of you. How can you be so ignorant?" He thought confidently that he would be able to convince me today. Suddenly, Ryan was attracted by the flower bed in front of him and almost bumped into it. He quickly steadied himself, took a deep breath, and adjusted his mood. My stomach suddenly growled. Ryan touched his stomach and suddenly had an idea. He decided that it was lunchtime, so why not ask me out for dinner? That way we could talk over food and drink to drown our sorrows, and maybe I would be able to relax. He began to imagine the dinner scene in the evening, with delicious dishes on the table and a few bottles of good wine. I would drink a few glasses at that time, but I can only drink a limited amount of alcohol, so I would probably get drunk. At that time, everything would be easy. No matter what I asked for, I would definitely agree to it. The more Ryan thought about it, the better his idea became. He was so proud that he even smiled. After the problem is solved, he can cry to me about buying a house and renovating it, and then he can benefit from it. Although I have no credit for resolving the conflict between the couple, at least I have worked hard, so it makes no sense not to get more benefits. He seemed to see me drunk, patting my chest, and promising to remarry, and even paying for the renovation. Ryan was so happy that he almost stepped in front of me in one step. He ran downstairs, panting, and took out his access card. He swiped it and entered the corridor. With a beep, the glass door opened automatically, and he rushed to the elevator in 2 steps. He couldn't wait to see me. The elevator quickly brought him to my floor. He stopped in front of the door and began to knock gently. Knock, knock, knock. Although the knocks were not loud, he knew I was at home, and he didn't believe I would refuse to receive him. William, are you home? He knocked twice, but there was still no response. Ryan frowned, feeling a little impatient. He knocked on the door a few more times, his voice becoming more rude. William, are you home? Still no response. Ryan was beginning to lose his patience, gritting his teeth in anger, and simply raised his fist and banged it a few times. Bang, bang, bang. Each bang seemed to strike at his anger. Damn it, how dare he not be at home? He knew I was coming, and he dared not wait for me. Ryan was furious. He took out his cell phone and called me once, twice, 3 times. Every time there was only an empty sound of beep, beep, and no one answered. William, you are such an ignorant fool. No one answered the phone, and he was furious, gritting his teeth and cursing. He decided to wait outside my house today and not give up until I came back. However, I was sitting in the noodle shop leisurely, enjoying the food. Looking at the call record on the phone screen, I didn't answer the call. Anyway, the ringtone was pleasant to my ears, and I didn't want to waste time with Ryan. After I had a full stomach, I felt particularly good, as if the future was full of countless possibilities. After leaving the restaurant, I passed by the real estate agency in the community and found that it was still early and it was not the time I agreed with the agency. So I decided to go to the agency to take pictures of the house in advance. As soon as I entered, I saw David. He was very surprised to see me and quickly stood up to greet me. William, is there any change? I smiled and waved my hands and replied, nothing has changed. I just happened to have nothing to do, so I thought I would take pictures early. David immediately became happy. Great, I'll go right away. Along the way, he also told me about the market situation of the community. William, our community is very mature, and now it is a popular area. Several households have already viewed your 2-bedroom apartment. I asked him, why hasn't it been sold yet? David showed a regretful expression. Because your price is a bit high, the buyer is not willing to compromise, so they are still considering it. I sighed in my heart. This is what Jessica did, always thinking about selling it at a higher price to leave more money for her brother. As a result, the price was too high, resulting in the house never being sold. But your 4-bedroom apartment is easier to sell, David continued. The current city policy is that buying a house over 90 square meters can solve the problem of urban household registration. Your 4-bedroom apartment just meets the requirements, and the area is large enough, so it should be able to sell for a good price. He said confidently. I sighed softly. I hope to sell it within a week, preferably with full payment. If there is a sincere buyer, I can lower the price appropriately. David's eyes lit up instantly. Okay, William, don't worry. We will do our best to help you sell the house. What if it doesn't sell within a week? I asked. David immediately replied, our company will pay you 5,000 yuan in compensation. If it doesn't sell, the money belongs to you. But the premise is that you can only list it with our company. You can't find other agents, and you can't sell it privately. Otherwise, there will be a penalty. I thought about it for a moment, and I agreed to it because I thought it was a good idea. This plan would help me speed up the process of selling my house and also provide me with protection during this period. More importantly, it would help me increase the chances of selling my house by leveraging the agency's stronger promotional power. As we were talking, I saw Ryan standing at the door of the unit, looking around anxiously, as if looking for me. When he saw me coming out, he immediately walked over quickly and asked in dissatisfaction, William, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you answer the phone? I slowly took out my cell phone from my pocket, took a look at it, then put it back and said lightly, oh, did you make a call? I didn't notice. My tone was understated, as if I didn't care. This nonchalant tone obviously made Ryan angry instantly. Didn't you notice? Do you know how long I've been waiting? I haven't had lunch yet, and I'm waiting for you on an empty stomach. Look at the time. Where are you going at this hour? I interrupted him. What's the matter? Is there something wrong? Of course there is. Ryan was as anxious as an ant on hot pan. Before he finished speaking, he suddenly noticed David standing next to me. David was wearing a standard black suit, white shirt, and black tie, which was obviously the standard outfit of the agency. Ryan's eyes fell on David's chest. When he saw the work badge, a hint of doubt flashed in his eyes. His tone couldn't help but soften, and he asked tentatively, is this person from the agency? David immediately stepped forward and said with a professional smile, "Yes, William wants to sell the apartment upstairs, so I came here to take pictures." Ryan was surprised at first, then happy. He was happy that I didn't refuse and was still ready to sell the house. But he was also a little confused. He remembered that I said I was going to sell a small 2-bedroom apartment. So how did it suddenly become a big house? I looked at him and explained calmly. This apartment is a bit big. It would be a bit of a waste for Justin and I to live in it. We plan to move to a 2-bedroom apartment and sell this one. With an outsider present, I was a little more polite to Ryan. After all, I didn't want to make things more complicated. But Ryan obviously misunderstood and looked at me with eyes full of gratitude and emotion. He rubbed his hands excitedly, his eyes full of surprise and joy. Really decided to sell this set? William. Seeing his expression, I knew in my heart that he had misunderstood something again, although I did not expose his fantasy. I calmly replied, "Yes. We will focus on promoting this house, and it will definitely be sold within a week," David said confidently. Ryan was even happier after hearing this, and he could hardly hide the smile on his face. Obviously, he had already regarded this as his success, as if the house had been sold. "William, I knew you were a kind-hearted man. I was right about you. My happy life depends on you." Ryan's voice trembled with excitement. As he spoke, he held my hand tightly, and his other hand, trembling slightly with excitement, patted the back of my hand again and again. David stood aside and blinked in confusion, totally unable to understand what this incoherent man was so happy about. Ryan let go of my hand, wiped his face, and said seriously, "I won't say much. Jessica's brain is broken. I'm going to scold her and wake her up. Don't worry, I will always stand by you." He patted his chest hard, making a bang-bang sound, as if to prove his determination. Suddenly, he seemed to remember something, slapped his thigh, and said excitedly, "By the way, I'll send you the card number." He hurriedly took out his phone and searched for his contacts, muttering, "Where is it?" Found it. He opened the dialog box with Ava, copied and pasted the bank card number and Ava, his name, and forwarded it to me. "Just transfer the money to this card. Jessica used to pass the message in the middle, but now it's more convenient." After he said that, he raised his phone proudly, as if showing off his proud achievements. He put his phone back into his trouser pocket with satisfaction, and before leaving, he reminded them, "You guys keep busy. I won't bother you anymore." After saying that, he left excitedly. His steps seemed to be on springs, and he wished he could grow wings and fly to Ava. He was in a very happy mood, as if he had already received the money from selling my house, and he had already imagined a bright future of moving into a new house and marrying a beautiful wife. I looked at Ryan's excited back. A mocking arc appeared on the corner of my mouth, and I thought to myself, "This idiot, does he really think I will give him the money?" David came back to his senses and asked hesitantly, "William, if we sell this house, should we give the proceeds to that gentleman?" I didn't answer him directly, but asked him back, "Will you sell your house and give the proceeds to your ex-wife's eldest brother to buy a wedding house?" David was stunned for a moment, then jumped up like a cat whose tail was stepped on, his voice rising an octave. "How is that possible? I wouldn't give it to my ex-wife's eldest brother, let alone my current wife's eldest brother." I smiled and shook my head. "My brain is fine. What's wrong with that gentleman?" David pointed at the door, his eyes a little confused. He looked very happy. "He thought you had agreed to give him the house payment." I raised my eyebrows and said calmly, "As long as they have a dream, anyone can be great." David couldn't help laughing. "William, you are quite humorous." In his heart, he was amazed. In his 5 years of experience as a real estate agent, he had seen all kinds of clients with many weird requests, but it was the first time he had ever met someone like Ryan who confidently asked for the money from his ex-brother-in-law's house sale. He speculated that this was probably because William's wife asked him to sell the house to buy a house for her eldest brother, but William disagreed, so they got divorced. His current wife became his ex-wife. What was even more unbelievable to him was that after the divorce, his ex-brother-in-law was still haunting other people's house, which really refreshed his cognition. David looked at William with some sympathy in his eyes and thought, "It's so unlucky to have such a family. William, sell the house as soon as possible." "William, don't worry. I promise to spend more time and do my best to help you sell this house," David said confidently, and he had already started thinking about how to speed up the process. His eyes rolled around, an idea quickly formed, and his eyes lit up. "William, our company happens to have a number of second-hand houses in high-end residential areas. They have great environments, strict security, and impeccable property management. David began to recommend enthusiastically. William was somewhat interested and listened to him continue to introduce. These communities are in good locations, close to the city center, with convenient transportation and shopping. There are very few houses of this quality now. If you buy a new house, can you afford to wait? And the location of the new house is not as good as here. I was moved. Jessica and her brother now have the access card for this community and can come and go at any time. Although they can't enter my house directly, it would be annoying if they knocked on the door every day. Okay, wait until this one is sold and recommend a few to me, I said lightly in a flat tone. David almost fainted. He couldn't believe his ears. Selling one house and buying one house means 2 orders. According to the current market price, this commission is enough for him to buy a house in his hometown. He rubbed his hands excitedly and wanted to take out the contract and ask William to sign it immediately. But he also knew that he couldn't eat hot tofu in a hurry, so he continued to be very patient. William, don't worry, leave it to me. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. David patted his chest and gave a thumbs up. Then, David started taking pictures. He carefully adjusted the angles to try to show the house's sense of space and lighting advantages. I stood aside, watching his movements and occasionally pointing out some places that needed special shots. After the photos were taken, David still refused to leave. He pulled out some photos of properties on his phone and excitedly recommended them to me. William, why don't you take a look at this first? This house is really nice. I can keep it for you. He continued to introduce. This is a duplex, 200 square meters, with a 60 square meter large terrace. You can turn it into a sky garden and stand on it to overlook the entire city. As he spoke, he secretly observed my expression. The house in the photo is luxuriously decorated with all the furniture and appliances you need, ready to move in, very suitable for current needs. Although I didn't show much reaction, I was indeed a little tempted. The community environment is good, with a high greening rate and an artificial lake. David continued to introduce, as if he was afraid that I would miss any highlights. I gently waved my hand, signaling him not to continue selling. Don't worry. Wait until this set is sold. Then go ahead and do your work. David stopped trying to persuade me. He rubbed his hands and said with a smile, William, is there anything else you need me to do? I paused for a moment and asked, does the house need to be emptied? David immediately waved his hand. No, you are busy. We will contact a professional cleaning company to help you clean the house. You only need to pack up the things you want to leave behind and leave the rest to us. He said with a smile, if you have items that need to be stored or given away, put a label on them and we will help you deal with them one by one. Oh, so thoughtful. I was a little surprised. I didn't expect their service to be so meticulous. David smiled even more happily. Of course, our company has always been customer-oriented and we guarantee your satisfaction. I nodded, feeling very satisfied. Okay, thank you for your help. David nodded excitedly. Okay, call me when you've dealt with it, and our people will be here right away. He left in a good mood, planning to share William's experience with his colleagues, and with a growing admiration for this client. David left. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. This house once carried too many of my memories and dreams. Now, my marriage has come to an end and the house has to be sold, but I don't have the slightest regret in my heart. Instead, I feel relieved, as if I had unloaded a heavy burden. I walked into the bedroom, opened the closet, and started packing my sons and my clothes. I didn't have many clothes, so I finished packing them quickly. Looking at the clothes piled on the bed, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. Except for the 2 sets of clothes for social events. The rest were all cheap items Jessica bought online. Jessica always talks about being frugal. She said that men don't need to be too particular about clothes. A few basic sets are enough, and money should be saved for Justin's future. At that time, I thought she was right and never refuted her. But now, looking at these wrinkled clothes, I feel unhappy, as if I saw moldy, rotten vegetable leaves. I walked to the mirror and examined my new suit. It was well cut and showed off my tall figure, making me look mature, stable, and vigorous. The smooth lines of the suit's shoulders made me look more confident. I dare not think about myself wearing those wrinkled clothes in the past. Maybe in the eyes of others, I'm just like a down-and-out middle-aged man. No wonder that woman dared to laugh at me contemptuously when we were eating noodles today. I couldn't help but sigh. How on earth have I survived these past few years? I'm living even poorer than when I was in college. I packed up the 2 slightly better sets of clothes, and I didn't need the rest anymore. Justin's clothes are all cheap. Jessica always said that children grow up quickly, so it's pointless to buy expensive clothes. It's just a waste. At that time, I thought she was right and didn't think there was anything wrong with it. But now, when I see these clothes, I feel a little uncomfortable. I turn to look at the closet on the other side. That was Jessica's clothes. She had a lot of clothes, although they were in average condition, probably bought before Doris came. However, Doris's clothes were completely different. Doris's clothes are not only numerous, but also fashionable and made of high-quality materials. Almost all of them are from well-known domestic and foreign children's clothing brands. In addition to clothes, there are also various dolls, toy houses, and mini furniture. It is simply a small toy city. Justin S. toys are a bit shabby, with only a few old car models and some building blocks. I really don't understand what magic Doris has that makes Jessica love her so much, even to the point of being pathological. However, it was meaningless to think about it now. Their affairs had nothing to do with me anymore. I swept Jessica and Doris's clothes and toys onto the bed, wrote down the address, and left without looking back. I want to decorate the new house before Justin finishes school and give him a brand new home that belongs only to the two of us. On the other hand, Ryan excitedly finds his fiancée, Ava, and can't wait to share the good news. Ava excitedly, his tone full of pride and boasting. Ava's eyes lit up immediately, and she asked in surprise, "Really?" He really agreed. Ryan smiled proudly. "Of course it's true. How could I lie to you? I sent him your bank card number." Couldn't help but frown when he mentioned Jessica. My sister's brain was probably fried by that damn girl Doris. She did some unreliable things and almost ruined our plan. While complaining, he proudly said, "Fortunately, I have a charismatic personality. My brother-in-law respects me very much and helped sell the house directly." Ava curled her lips. "You have charisma? Why didn't I see that?" She thought again and analyzed cleverly. "I think he definitely doesn't want to divorce your sister and wants you to persuade her." Of course. Ryan straightened his chest. He treats me as his elder brother, so I must help him. In fact, Ryan knew that for a successful man like William, it would be easy to find a better one after divorce. But Ava suddenly changed the subject, her expression a little puzzled. "What on earth does your sister want?" She had to empty the family savings to treat that little girl and even got a divorce. It's really hard to understand. Who knows what she's thinking? Ryan curled his lips in disapproval. She's never been in her right mind and has done a lot of stupid things. Suddenly, he blinked and said with a twinkling look in his eyes, "Could it be that I beat her too much when she was a child, and she became stupid?" Ava rolled her eyes at him and said in a low voice mysteriously, "I think your sister must be having an affair with Doris's dad." Ryan was confused after hearing this. "No way. Why would she go find someone else? He's a good man." "You don't understand this," Ava said with a tone of someone who has experienced it. "Sometimes, women want things that men can't give them." Ryan looked confused. "Then what does my sister want?" Ava smiled softly. "You should ask your sister about this question." Ryan didn't want to rack his brains, so he decided to give up thinking. "I don't care about that. I'll go to the hospital tomorrow to get Doris out." Then, he decided to concentrate on looking for a house. As they were discussing, the two had already found several nearby properties online and agreed to start looking at houses tomorrow. After discussing with Ava, Ryan returned home in high spirits, thinking that he would say goodbye to this dark and small old house and move into a spacious and bright elevator apartment, and no longer have to endure the nagging and control of his parents. His mood was like a few rabbits in his arms, jumping nonstop. "From now on, I will have a house and a wife. No one will dare to look down on me, and no one will dare to point fingers at me." He was very happy with himself, his voice full of arrogance. I stood by the window, feeling a little complicated, and listened silently to his increasingly beautiful thoughts. He ran upstairs in 2 steps, humming an untuned tune, and opened the door and shouted, "I'm back." Just after he finished shouting, he suddenly stopped and his face changed. The atmosphere in the room was extremely depressing. Johnson sat at the table, frowning and silent. Catherine was cleaning up the dishes at the side, her face gloomy. "Jessica is gone?" Ryan asked in a low voice, looking around the room. Catherine grumbled and placed the dishes and chopsticks heavily on the table. "Runs so fast. I was planning to teach her a lesson." Ryan walked over and asked in surprise, "Mom, what's wrong with you? Why are you so angry?" "The bowl is broken, and money doesn't fall from the sky." Catherine rolled her eyes at him and muttered, "Your sister is obsessed. She actually came to us to ask for money." "You want money? What money?" Ryan looked confused. What other money do you need? It's for Doris's medical treatment. Catherine said coldly. She said the hospital owes money and must pay immediately. Otherwise, they will stop taking the medicine. She asked to borrow tens of thousands of dollars. Do you really think we run a bank? What? Ryan stood up immediately, his eyes widened. How dare she speak? That's right, Catherine said angrily. I don't know what they were thinking. How dare they come to us and ask for money? Did you give it? Ryan asked eagerly. His parents' savings belong to him, and if Jessica drains them out, he will suffer a huge loss. Of course I can't lend it to you. Catherine sneered. All my money is saved for your wedding. How can I waste it on her? Hearing this, Ryan breathed a sigh of relief and said, That's good. Don't be soft-hearted. She might come to you again in the future. Don't worry. We know what we are doing. Catherine nodded. Dad, Mom, we have to stand on William's side in this matter. Ryan suddenly became serious. Jessica may not acknowledge him, but William must. In the future, he will be my biological brother and your biological son. Even if you have to break off relations with Jessica, you must keep him. He excitedly told his parents about William selling the big house. William is kind and righteous. He knows that I need money to get married, and the 2-bedroom apartment is not enough for the mortgage. So he took the initiative to move out with Justin and sell the big house instead. As soon as it is sold, the mortgage proceeds will be paid to me immediately. Catherine couldn't believe it. Really? He really agreed? Of course I gave him my bank account number. He really treats us as family. We can't let him down. Ryan was full of confidence. Johnson, who had been silent all the time, spoke, sighed, and his weathered face was full of fatigue. Alas, which parent would be willing to cut off ties with their child? Your sister is just confused. Ryan took over the conversation impatiently. That's right, Jessica doesn't even consider us as her family. For a little girl, she would give up her husband and children. I'm afraid we are not even as good as grass in her eyes. I don't know what kind of magic potion Doris gave her, Catherine echoed. Your sister is in such a bad state now that anyone who gets involved with her will be in trouble. We can't let her drag Ryan down with her. Okay, let's not talk about her anymore. What do you think of your house? Catherine looked very interested. I checked a few houses online today, and we'll go to see them tomorrow. The location is good, within the second ring road, and the environment is good too. Ryan described the house he and Ava chose with great excitement. Ava's idea is to just buy a secondhand one. It doesn't matter if it's a little more expensive. Anyway, we have enough money now, so we don't need to renovate it. We can just move in directly and get married sooner. That's great. Your lifelong event is finally settled. May your ancestors bless you. Catherine clasped her hands together excitedly, expressing her gratitude. Johnson also smiled, as if looking forward to the future. If you find something you like tomorrow, pay the deposit, and then you can start choosing furniture. Catherine continued to ask, How much is the deposit? Do you have enough money? Of course it's not enough. Ryan said without hesitation. For a house worth several million, the deposit is at least $50,000. Where can I get so much money? Your sister said she gave you more than 100,000 yuan, and just now she asked you to return it to her. Catherine stared at him and said, Just listen to her nonsense. There is no such thing. Ryan quickly denied. In fact, Jessica did give him a lot of money, especially since he and Ava had been dating. The expenses were not small. But now, he only had $2,000 or $3,000 left in his card, which was obviously not enough for the deposit. Catherine was still a little unconvinced. Really? Your sister made it very clear. Really? Do you want me to show it to you? Even your son doesn't believe it. Ryan said impatiently. Besides, why do you keep your money? Isn't it for me? If you don't take it out, when will you take it out? Okay then. Catherine finally took out a bank card. There are tens of thousands of dollars in it. It's for your wedding. You could do whatever you want. Ryan's eyes lit up. Only a few tens of thousands? There's another one with tens of thousands in it. I haven't told your sister. I kept it secretly. Don't tell anyone. Catherine added. Ryan accepted the bank card with satisfaction, thinking to himself, if I decide on a house tomorrow, I'll be considered a real estate owner. At this point, he had already begun to imagine the future in his mind. He was waiting for his house to be demolished. According to previous policies, the compensation for relocation to the original location would be 2 times the compensation for one. If he chose to move outside the third ring road, the compensation would be even 3 times the compensation for one. If it is really demolished, we will choose a house outside the third ring road and build a house for you too, and the rest will be considered as payment. He said it as a matter of course. The money would definitely belong to him, at least several million, and after that he wouldn't have to work at all and could live comfortably on the interest. Ryan thought about it. The more beautiful it seemed, as if the future was bright. Catherine and Johnson did not respond. They have this dream every year, but it never comes true. Finish your business first. If you don't have enough money, you still have to ask your brother-in-law for help, Catherine reminded. Of course, we are a family. He will definitely help me. Ryan was full of confidence. He severed his relationship with his sister for William. Shouldn't William be grateful? Jessica knows about selling the house. She's not thinking straight right now, and it will be troublesome if she fights with us for the money. This is a big happy event for me, and I don't want to ruin my mood because of her. He instructed cautiously. I see. She also wanted to bring Doris home to live with me, but I didn't agree. Catherine agreed. That's definitely not possible. We have limited space at home. How can we accommodate them? Besides, if we really take them in, what if my brother-in-law ignores us? We have to prioritize. Ryan continued. Don't worry, it'll be okay. Catherine comforted. A daughter who's married off is like water spilled. It's ridiculous for her to come back and live with us, Johnson added softly. Okay, I'm gonna rest and go house hunting tomorrow. Ryan hummed a song and walked into the house, feeling happy. In the hospital corridor, Jessica sat weakly on a bench, holding Doris' discharge certificate tightly in her hand. She felt heavy-hearted, and the reality before her left her with no choice. The doctor told her that Doris' surgery could not be performed for the time being, and it was meaningless to continue to stay in hospital. The doctor suggested that she take Doris home and do dialysis regularly, which would save some money. Jessica had no choice but to agree with the doctor's advice. But the problem was, where should she go after leaving the hospital? She tried to contact William, but his phone was always unreachable. She thought about going back to her parents' home, but the answer she received there chilled her heart. We don't have room in our home. You're already married, so don't bother us anymore. The cold tone of her family was like a knife that pierced her heart. Although she could understand her family's reluctance, she still felt frustrated. After all, she had given a lot to this family. For William, she gave up her career and tried her best to create a warm family. However, William has become so strange now and seems to no longer care about her. Jessica cannot understand why the man who once doted on her has become so heartless. Looking back, she did everything for William, even gave up her future for him, but in return she was abandoned. Jessica couldn't help but feel angry and wronged, and her eyes became wet. She had always believed that the love between husband and wife should be the strongest bond, but now, this relationship made her feel extremely cold. She thought of the promises William had made, and she was left with only deep disappointment. She told herself that she couldn't just let it go. Since William was so ruthless, she had to fight for everything that belonged to her and her child. She wanted to find him and let him know that she would not give up easily, and she would get justice even if she had to resort to legal means. Doris, listen to me. Let's stay in a hotel for one night. Once I have arranged everything, I will take you to eat your favorite food. Jessica forced a smile, trying to comfort Doris in front of her. She looked at Doris' pale face, feeling helpless and reluctant. Doris obviously didn't understand the adult's helplessness. She blinked her big eyes and asked in confusion, "But didn't Uncle promise to perform surgery on me? Why do we have to leave the hospital?" The voice was gentle, but it was like a needle piercing Jessica's heart, making her unable to find a suitable answer for a while. She looked at Doris in silence, with a sharp pain in her heart. She didn't dare to tell the truth. She couldn't tell Doris that her uncle no longer cared about her, and even gave up the chance to save her. She lowered her head and explained vaguely. The surgery has been postponed for the time being. Let's stay here first and talk about other things later. Postponed? Why postpone? Doris' voice suddenly became tearful, her eyes full of confusion and puzzlement. She obviously couldn't understand what was happening, and even began to wonder if she had done something wrong. Jessica clenched her fists nervously and interrupted her hurriedly, her tone revealing a hint of panic. No, Doris, how could Uncle not want you? Auntie has money, and Annie will take good care of you. However, she knew that this was not what she wanted to say the most at the moment. She knew in her heart that she didn't have much money now. The divorce agreement clearly stated that none of William's property would be given to her, and she had very little savings left, which was not enough to cope with the current predicament. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. Jessica didn't want to show weakness in front of Doris, even though she was heartbroken. She tried to calm her inner fluctuations and continued to comfort Doris. Doris, when Annie has arranged everything, I will definitely take you to eat a lot of delicious food. You're lying. Your uncle doesn't want you anymore. You can't even go home and have to stay in a hotel. How come you can't do anything right? He clearly agreed. Doris angrily shook off her hand and screamed. Doris, how can you say that? Jessica looked at her in surprise. She didn't expect Doris to be so fierce. Doris' eyes were full of anger and disappointment. You did it on purpose. You must have done something to make your uncle angry and make him give up the surgery. It's all your fault. Doris' words hit Jessica's heart like a heavy hammer. She was stunned and unable to respond. How could this child in front of her, who was once the sweet angel in her heart, suddenly become so strange and indifferent? A chill ran through her heart, and she suddenly grabbed Doris's hand. Annie will definitely find a way. Doris, don't be afraid. Everything will be fine. Jessica tried her best to suppress her inner fear and comforted her gently. She knew that she had to support Doris, no matter how difficult the road ahead was. Doris' eyes were shining with tears, and she frowned aggrievedly. Auntie, I didn't mean it. I was just too scared. Please don't be angry, okay? Her words were full of regret and helplessness, as if she had suddenly turned into that carefree little girl again. Jessica hugged her tightly and whispered to comfort her. No, how could Annie blame you? Annie will definitely save you, and Annie will definitely take you to see Uncle and let him perform surgery on you. She had only one thought in her mind, that is, never give up. A few minutes later, Jessica led Doris out of the hospital. No matter how difficult the road ahead is, she is determined to fight for it with all her strength, to fight for the future that belongs to her and Doris. She must let William take responsibility. Even if everything collapses in the end, she will not regret it. Jessica held Doris's hand and walked out of the hospital gate. Doris' voice was a little uneasy. Auntie, where are we going? There was some doubt and fear in her eyes. Jessica felt heavy-hearted and responded in a low voice. Let's go to the hotel. Her voice trembled a little, and her heart was filled with anxiety and confusion. Jessica looked at Doris's small figure, and her heart ached. She raised her head and tried to hold back the tears in her eyes. But I want to go home. I don't want to go to the hotel. Doris' voice was filled with tears, and tears welled up in her big eyes, making her look particularly helpless. Jessica's heart was deeply touched, and she couldn't help but stroke her head gently, saying in a low voice, Where is our home? She felt an indescribable pain in her heart. Then Doris's little hands trembled slightly, but she quickly regained her composure. She raised her head, tears glistening in her eyes, but with a little determination. Let's go home and find Uncle William and tell him that Doris misses him and Justin. As she spoke, she lowered her head and tears fell uncontrollably. She sniffed and raised her head, her tearful eyes showing a firmness that was not in line with her age. Auntie, let's beg Uncle more. He will definitely not be angry. Although her words were simple, they made Jessica's heart tighten suddenly. Although this child is young, she knows how to express her desire and longing for her father with the most sincere heart. Jessica was stunned for a moment, then took a deep breath, and an idea came to her mind. Yes, take Doris to find William. If he doesn't take the money, let him kneel down in front of everyone. That conceited man won't refuse, right? A calm and resolute idea suddenly emerged in her mind. She hailed a taxi and rushed towards her and William's former home. Master, please hurry up. Her anxious voice was full of urgency. The taxi driver nodded, stepped on the accelerator, and drove the car quickly to the destination. Jessica was anxious and just wanted to see William as soon as possible and have a good talk with him. When she and Doris arrived at the door of her house breathlessly, they knocked on the door, but no one answered. William, William, she called anxiously. William, are you home? She kept knocking on the door and shouting, but there was still no response. Her inner anxiety became more and more intense, and Jessica became a little anxious and almost lost her mind. Auntie, does Uncle not want us anymore? Doris's big eyes were filled with fear and anxiety, and her voice was crying. Jessica squatted down and gently comforted her. No, Uncle just went out to do something and will be back soon. However, she was becoming more and more unsure. Where had William gone? She waited at the door for a long time, until it was completely dark, but she still did not see William. The disappointment and powerlessness made her feel extremely heavy. She had no choice but to take Doris away and find a cheap chain hotel to stay in. The next morning, Jessica brought Doris to William's door again. However, this time they were greeted not by a closed door, but by a strange young man. Doris pointed at the door in surprise. Andy, look, there's someone. Jessica looked in the direction of her finger and saw a man in a suit standing at the door, seemingly opening it. Behind him followed a man and woman who looked very close, and they seemed to be a couple. Jessica hurriedly pulled Doris over and asked warily, "Who are you? Why are you opening my door?" The young man replied politely, "I'm a real estate agent. William wants to sell this house, and I'm bringing a client to see the house." "What? Selling the house?" Jessica panicked, and her mind went blank. She pushed the young man away and said, "No, this house cannot be sold." She almost shouted angrily. The young man frowned and said in an unhappy tone, "Madam, who are you?" Jessica responded coldly, "I am the mistress of the house. This house is mine." Although she and William have divorced, she is unwilling to admit that she has nothing to do with the house. The young man disagrees. "Excuse me, William clearly told us that this house is his premarital property, and there is only his name on the property certificate. There is no mistress. We have the right to sell it." He ignored Jessica and turned to the couple behind him and said enthusiastically, "Please come in. This house has good lighting, beautiful surroundings, and convenient transportation. It is very suitable for living." Jessica pointed at him angrily. "You are cheating. I'm going to sue you." Her voice trembled and she was burning with anger. The young man sneered. "Sue us? Fine. I'm always here for you. You've already divorced William. This house has nothing to do with you. You have no right to interfere." Jessica was so angry that she couldn't speak. She watched the young agent lead the client into the house. She vaguely heard the agent whisper to the client, "This lady is a brother-supporting demon. She wants to sell her husband's house to buy a wedding house for her brother, and she still refuses to let go even after the divorce." The young couple couldn't help but be surprised. How could there be such a person? William is so unlucky to meet such a woman. Their voices were full of confusion and accusation. "She is too greedy. She won't give up even if she wants something. That's right. We really have no other choice. Selling the house will give us some peace and quiet. It's a bargain for you." The young couple walked into the house while talking. Jessica almost collapsed, as if her heart was hit hard. She wanted to go forward to argue, but when she stepped towards the door slammed shut. At this moment, Jessica felt dizzy and her mind went blank. She didn't expect William to be so determined to sell the house. She originally thought that this man would give her another chance for their past, for Doris and Justin, but now everything is ruined. "Andy, what should we do? Uncle really doesn't want us anymore." Doris cried anxiously, her voice full of anxiety. "I don't know if Justin is with Uncle." Jessica's heart tightened, thinking of Justin. Yes, she couldn't just give up like that. She whispered to Doris, "Justin." "Yes, Justin. Let's go to the kindergarten to pick up Justin and see if he's with his uncle. I don't believe he won't show up." She pulled Doris up and ran towards the kindergarten. However, when they arrived, the kindergarten door was closed and the school bell had already rung. Jessica told the guard that she was Justin's mother and then hurried into the kindergarten. She walked to the door of Justin's classroom and glanced anxiously, but did not see Justin. "Auntie, where's Justin?" Doris also asked in confusion. Jessica's heart tightened, and she hurried to find the teacher to ask, "Teacher, where is Justin? Why didn't he come to school today?" "Oh, Justin's mother. Justin didn't come to kindergarten today." The teacher looked at her strangely. "Justin's father asked for leave for him after school yesterday. You're his mother, don't you know?" This sentence hit Jessica's heart like a heavy hammer. She was stunned and didn't react at all. Seeing her standing there, the teacher ignored her and turned around to maintain order. Jessica stood there, totally unable to accept this fact. William didn't even send Justin to school. Was he really so heartless? He didn't allow them to meet? Was he really so cruel? Doris started crying again. "Auntie, will we never see our brother Justin again?" Her voice was choked and her eyes were full of fear. Jessica suppressed her panic and whispered to comfort her. "No, Justin will be fine. Let's go home first, and Annie will think of a solution." She pulled Doris out of the kindergarten, feeling heavy-hearted and increasingly anxious. William seemed like a different person, completely ignoring their past friendship. Could it be that their past relationship was so easily abandoned? The house was gone, Justin could no longer be seen, and her parents were no longer there to rely on. Who could she rely on now? Jessica stood outside the gate of the community, feeling as if her heart was weighed down by a heavy burden and she could hardly breathe. She had already flipped through the address book on her cell phone several times. She kept calling William's friends, colleagues, and classmates, but she always got the same answer. We can't contact him. Her anxiety was like an invisible hand, tightly grasping her chest. Aunt, Uncle doesn't want us anymore. Doris' voice broke her thoughts with a hint of fear. What should I do? I don't want to die. Her voice was weak, but every word pierced Jessica's heart. It's okay. Annie can find him. Jessica gritted her teeth and held Doris' hand tightly, but her heart was confused. She dragged Doris to the agency at the entrance of the community, hoping to get some clues from the agent David. But David's attitude was extremely cold. His mouth was tightly shut as if it was locked, no comment. After he finished speaking, he took the client away indifferently. Jessica felt the strange looks from people around her, and she felt an inexplicable sense of shame and anger rising in her heart. She turned and left the agency, stood at the gate of the community, looked around angrily, and cursed in her heart. William, where on earth have you been hiding, you irresponsible man? While she was standing outside the community, feeling angry, I was standing on the sofa, holding a cup of freshly ground coffee in my hand. The aroma filled the air, bringing a long-lost sense of relaxation. I remember that for many years, I drank plain water almost every day and had forgotten the taste of coffee. Now, all this seemed to be a beauty that I had never experienced before. I closed my eyes and enjoyed the tranquility and pleasure of this moment. I took a sip of coffee, put down the cup, sighed, and my thoughts went back to the days in the past that I couldn't bear to look back on. For that operation, I only took 3 days of paid annual leave. Funny, isn't it? For such a serious operation, I only dared to take 3 days off. No one would believe me if I told them. I originally had 7 days of paid annual leave, but because I wanted to do a matching test for Doris, I took 4 days off, leaving only 3 days. At that time, Jessica firmly believed that those 3 days were enough. She found all kinds of excuses for me, saying Doris doesn't have medical insurance. The surgery will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the future medicine costs will be a bottomless pit. We must be frugal. If we take more leave, our salary will be deducted, which is not cost-effective. I was convinced by her reason and believed it. So I really took 3 days off and went to work despite my illness. As a result, I fainted at the company. Even though my colleagues sent me home, the company's response was merciless. My position was quickly replaced by a newcomer, and I was ruthlessly fired. Without a source of income, my health was getting worse and worse, and I was extremely weak. I wanted to change all this, but there was nothing I could do. And what about Jessica? Not only did she not feel the slightest bit of guilt, she even refused to buy me the more expensive medicine, saying coldly, "You'll be fine in 3 months if you take care of it." I heard this countless times at that time, and it was only now that I think about it that I feel the irony. What's even more hateful is that she secretly took my Social Security card and used the money to buy Doris all kinds of expensive supplements to supplement the child's nutrition. I didn't realize it at the time until everything became a regret. Looking back on myself at that time, I really feel ridiculous. For the sake of a so-called family, I compromised and ended up not only losing my life, but also hurting Justin. Fortunately, God gave me a chance to be reborn, allowing me to get rid of all this. I can finally enjoy this hard-earned happiness with Justin. Today is the last day of my 3-day vacation. I decided to spend some time with Justin to make up for the fatherly love I didn't give him before. I walked to his bedroom door and whispered, "Justin, wake up." Justin's lazy voice came from under the quilt. I smiled slightly and continued softly. "We are not going to kindergarten today. Do you want to go out and play? Or do you want Dad to play with you at home?" "Really?" Justin sat up suddenly, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Are we not going to kindergarten today?" "Yes, Dad will accompany you." I agreed with a smile. Seeing his happy face, my heart was filled with satisfaction. "Yeah, that's great." Justin cheered happily, jumped off the bed, rushed to my side, and hugged me. "Okay, the sun is shining on your butt. Get up quickly, have breakfast, and Dad will play with you." I felt so warm in my heart seeing how happy he was. Justin agreed and ran around the house barefoot. He liked days like this. He liked being with his dad. He didn't have to worry about his mom scolding or being bullied by Doris. After breakfast, we took out our train toys and started laying tracks in the living room, imitating a real train station and playing to our heart's content. This was the time I'd always dreamed of with Justin and I together, simple, warm, and happy. At noon, I cooked for Justin myself. I'm a pretty good cook. When I lived alone, I often cooked for myself. After I got married, I was still the chef. When Jessica was pregnant, she was busy taking care of the children, so she gave the responsibility of cooking to me. Today, every weekend, I am still the chef at home. Today, Justin wanted to eat barbecue, so I ordered the ingredients online and grilled it for him myself. The father and son were busy in the kitchen. The air was filled with the aroma of barbecue, and the whole house was filled with warmth. Dad, from now on we will play at home every day and not go to kindergarten, Justin said excitedly. Kindergarten is very important. You need to play with other children to better integrate into society. I advised gently. Will Dad play with me after work? Justin asked immediately. Of course, Dad doesn't work overtime or on business trips, so he will play with you every night. I replied. Justin smiled happily after hearing this. Although he was reluctant to leave his friend, he was also happy to spend more time with his father. After eating and playing, Justin wanted to take a nap. I sat in front of the computer, looking at the ever-changing stock prices on the screen, silently thinking about my future life. I gently closed Justin's door and returned to the living room. The sun was shining brightly outside the window. The warm sunlight sprinkled on my body, making me feel peaceful. I made a cup of tea, sat in front of the computer, and began to browse stock information. Those familiar stock codes jumped in front of my eyes, with a familiar rhythm, which made me feel familiar. Suddenly, a strong emotion surged in my heart, as if I wanted to vent all the resentment and anger that I had accumulated in my previous life. I almost couldn't help but scream to the sky, "Damn it, I must live an easy life in this life." In my previous life, I worked like a cow for a living and for my family, but in the end, I lost both my money and my life. I will never make the same mistake again in this life. I vowed to change my way of life, no longer running for money and no longer working for fame and fortune. I want to enjoy life and make up for the regrets of the past. Now, I have the upper hand, and I have a full understanding of the business information that will appear in the next few years. I can use this information to make a big move in the stock market and easily make a lot of money, enough for Justin and I to live a comfortable life. When I think of Justin, a gentle smile appears on my lips. This lovely child is the most precious gift in my life and the motivation for me to live. I don't want him to experience too much hardship. I want to give him a happy childhood and a worry-free future. As long as the economy allows, I will let Justin pursue his dreams freely and enjoy a happy life. If Justin has no particular interests, that's fine. He can spend his days freely. As long as he is happy, doing what he likes, or doing nothing, it doesn't prevent him from living a wonderful life. My eyes gradually became firm, and I was determined to free myself from this job that bound me. It's time to make a change. I said to myself, the software company I work for is a large private enterprise with branches all over the country. As a technical salesperson, I earn a relatively good income. I majored in computer science, and after graduating from university, I joined a state-owned enterprise, participated in several large projects, and accumulated rich experience. Later, I felt that there was limited room for development in state-owned enterprises, so I resigned and successfully applied for a job at my current company. My job is to sell the software developed by the company to various companies. Every time a set of software is sold, the commission is quite considerable. After the sale, I was also responsible for the installation and debugging of the software, as well as the subsequent training and after-sales service. However, in this job, business trips and overtime work became commonplace, and I could not take care of Justin at all. I decided to quit this job and concentrate on stock trading at home. In my previous life, I traded stocks while working. Although I didn't put in too much effort, I accumulated some experience, especially in stock trading. When I was in college, I used my keen sense of smell to buy a dark horse stock, earned my first pot of gold, and bought that old and rundown house. I have a habit of choosing a few stocks with good performance and active stock prices and repeating the operation to make stable profits. Even if the market is not good, I have never lost money and always make money. I remember that within a week, a monster stock suddenly appeared. On the first day of resumption of trading, the stock price rose by 1,000%, making those who bought it earn a lot of money. In my previous life, I could only be a bystander, watching the stock price soar, but in this life, I will never miss this opportunity to make a fortune. When I make money, I plan to buy a few houses and live the life of a landlord. Just as I was thinking, the phone rang. It was my college roommate, Feng Yubin. "Hello, William, what are you doing? Why is Jessica looking for you everywhere? Aren't you two together?" As soon as the phone was connected, Feng Yubin's energetic voice came over. I sighed secretly. Feng Yubin is younger than me, sunny and full of energy, while I feel like an old man who is about to pass his prime, lifeless. "I divorced Jessica." "What?" Feng Yubin couldn't believe it. Are you kidding me? You think I'd joke about something like that? I responded calmly. If it's true, then I'll have to set off firecrackers to celebrate for you. Feng Yubin's laughter came from the other end of the phone. In the past, he was adamantly against my marriage to Jessica, thinking she was not worthy of me and that I deserved someone better. But I thought Jessica was honest and gentle and could manage the household frugally, so I finally entered into marriage without hesitation. But after marriage, Jessica felt that I was too close to my friends, and she would complain every time I had a party, which made me reduce my socializing with friends and stay at home all day. Jessica, who was obviously not smart. Fortunately, Jessica gave me a lovely son, Justin, which made Feng Yubin less resentful. How did you make up your mind? Feng Yubin continued to ask. Jessica asked me to donate my kidney to Doris, but I didn't agree, I said calmly. Is she crazy? My God, she's so bold. You were right not to agree. The identity of that girl must be extraordinary. I don't care about these anymore. I just want to live a good life with Justin. I interrupted Feng Yubin and didn't want to mention those two women anymore. Where's Justin? Following you. Feng Yubin asked with concern. Yes, she gave up alimony and visitation rights. I answered softly. This mother is really unacceptable. She doesn't care about her own son, but takes care of someone else's daughter. Feng Yubin couldn't help but comment. I think it's fine. I don't want to deal with her anymore. I said firmly. What about the money? The house? The car? You didn't give her any of it. Feng Yubin asked. These are all my premarital property. Of course they can't be divided, I replied. Well done. You finally act like a man. Feng Yubin praised me. What will you do in the future? Go back to work. Your job requires you to run around all day long. What about Justin? Feng Yubin asked. I told him my plan. I plan to quit my job and concentrate on stock trading at home. The income is unstable, Feng Yubin reminded. I know a stock that will definitely make money. Do you dare to invest in it with me? I asked. In my previous life, Feng Yubin gave me all his savings, and he was my most trusted friend. In this life, I hope to make money with him. Of course I do. Why shouldn't I be afraid? Feng Yubin agreed readily. Well, prepare the funds. The more the better. Once you receive my message, do it immediately. Don't hesitate. Okay, I'll listen to you. Where are you now? Feng Yubin asked. In another apartment in the community. Then I'll come over to see you and talk to you for a while. No need. Let's celebrate together after this operation is over. I refused with a smile. Okay, then let us wish ourselves success and a great start. Feng Yubin said confidently. Feng Yubin's trust gave me a sense of accomplishment. Although my past life was not satisfactory, I knew that I had made a sincere friend. I changed my previous weak and timid attitude. The next morning, I drove to the company and handed in my resignation without hesitation. William, are you crazy? Why would you give up such a good job? Did you win a lottery? Manager Wong looked at me in disbelief. I made an excuse. Manager Wong, I haven't been feeling well lately, and I want to take a break. Are you not feeling well? I think you're not thinking straight. Let me tell you, it's very difficult to come back after you resign. Manager Wong looked like he was not convinced. I insisted. Manager Wong, I've made up my mind. Please stop trying to persuade me. He thought for a moment and finally nodded in agreement. Since you have made up your mind, I will not stop you. However, the company has a rule that requires 1 month's notice before resignation. This way, the company has time to recruit people. You have worked in the company for many years, and the company has treated you well. I hope you can do well in this last month and help us recruit new people. I smiled and said, okay, I'll do it for another month. Manager Wong was obviously relieved. By the way, the company will have an annual meeting in June. Employees who have worked for 10 years will receive rewards. You have just completed 10 years this year, so you can get 10,000 yuan in cash. Also, if you are lucky, you will win a European in-depth tour at the annual meeting. You will make a lot of money. I nodded, but I had already made a decision in my heart. It's really good, then I'll stay for another month. Manager Wong was obviously confused. He asked, William, tell me the truth. Why did you resign? Is there really a better job? I smiled and joked. Are you kidding? Where can I jump to if I jump again? I will be my own boss. He didn't give up. What's your situation? Did your wife agree with your resignation? I sighed in my heart. Manager Wong has seen things clearly over the years. After the divorce, the child belongs to me. Now this job requires frequent business trips, and it is no longer suitable for me. Manager Wong almost blurted out the answer, but he held it back and just raised his eyebrows in surprise. You don't even want your wife and children? So cruel. I sighed and stopped hiding it. It's not shameful to get a divorce now anyway. You know my wife? I won't say much about her character. She always takes care of her parents' family and gives all her earnings to them. I had to sell my current house to her brother to buy a wedding house. What's even worse is that she brought back a little girl, spent a lot of money, and asked me to donate a kidney to her. Manager Wong was stunned. Donate a kidney? Who is that girl to her? She said she was a good friend's daughter, and I entrusted her to her for raising. What about the girl's family? Are they all dead? I shrugged. Who knows? Anyway, it's all my fault. Is there something wrong with your brain? Manager Wong asked in shock. That little girl also bullied my son and pinched him until his body was covered with bruises. I must be crazy to donate a kidney. She bullied your son? Kick her away. Why did you keep her for the new year? My ex-wife said it was just a fight between children and not worth mentioning, but when I saw the injuries on my son's body, I felt sad. I will not do this operation. Manager Wong gradually understood. If you don't agree to her, will she come to the company to find you? Is your resignation related to this matter? I sighed. As expected of a manager, you have a lot of experience. This is indeed the reason. Her brother has been waiting for me to sell the house and give him the money. If he doesn't get it, he will definitely make trouble. I sneered. I worked so hard, but in the end all I got was an ATM card from their family. They even gave her their internal organs. It's so unfair. Manager Wong patted his chest and said, Don't worry, I'm here. If they dare to come, I will definitely tell them to get out. Our security guards are not vegetarians. You too. You have endured it for so many years. Manager Wong shook his head helplessly. I sighed. At the beginning, I thought I had a home, so I cherished it. Manager Wong patted my shoulder and seemed very sympathetic. You should keep your eyes open when looking for a partner in the future. Don't be in a hurry. I smiled and shook my head. I won't think about that for now. I just want to raise my son and not let him suffer any grievances. Manager Wong nodded. I understand. You can quit if you want. Anyway, as long as I stay here for one day, the company's door will always be open to you. You're always welcome to come back. Thank you, Manager Wong. I was grateful to him from the bottom of my heart. There is still true love in this world. Unfortunately, I was blind and found a vampire as my relative. Manager Wong really took good care of me and didn't assign me any new work in the last month. The HR department started recruiting new people, and I had nothing to do, so I just hid at my desk and started researching stocks. Although the funds on hand are only hundreds of thousands, if it can be multiplied tenfold, it will be 1 million. This money can be used to buy that monster stock. When the house payment arrives, I will invest all my money, and when the stock resumes trading, I will invest more than 3 million yuan, and it will soon become more than 30 million yuan. With this money, I plan to buy a few shops, and when the house prices rise in the future, I can live a life of collecting rent. I usually stay at home with Justin, drink tea, travel, and vacation, and no longer live the hard life of my previous life. As for finding another partner, it would be best if there is one, but I won't force it if there isn't. Anyway, my goal is to raise my son and not let him suffer any grievances. Just as I was thinking about this, I suddenly got a call from the agent David. William, there's a client who wants to buy your house. When is it convenient for you to sign the contract? David's voice was full of excitement. So fast, I asked in surprise. Of course, all the stores in the city are promoting your apartment, so of course it will be fast. He smiled and replied, There are 2 customers now. One wants to buy in full, but hopes to get a discount of 50,000, and the other wants to pay in installments and hopes to get a discount of 20,000. Which one do you think is more suitable? Full payment. I immediately decided that the installment payment was too slow, and I had to get the house payment as soon as possible to feel at ease. Okay, we'll notify customers who have paid in full and ask you to check and see when you're free, David responded enthusiastically. David and I agreed to meet at 2 p.m. Then I want to ask for leave from Manager Wong. Manager Wong, I'd like to take half a day off this afternoon because I've sold my house. I told the truth directly without hiding anything. So fast. The price of your house might even go up. Manager Wong was a little surprised. I don't want to cause any trouble. I can't make enough money. If I sell it first, it will also allow others to make some money. I replied calmly. That's right. Go ahead and do your work. Don't come back. Manager Wong nodded in agreement. I smiled and said, I'll treat you to dinner when the house payment arrives. Don't worry. When you leave, we'll hold a farewell party for you, and we'll all have a good meal together. It'll be paid for by the company. Manager Wong joked with a smile. Okay, Manager Wong, I will definitely treat you then. I answered sincerely. At 2 p.m., I arrived at the agency on time. As soon as I entered the door, I saw 2 groups of customers waiting. David pointed to a young couple and introduced them. This young couple likes your house very much and wants to buy at your price. I looked at them with eyes full of expectation. At this time, another middle-aged male customer interrupted unhappily. We will pay in full, according to the original price. You pay as much as you sell. I looked at him with some displeasure, but finally I agreed to be a customer who wanted to pay the full amount for the house. Sorry, we can only process the full payment today, I said to the young couple. It doesn't matter. Transactions are voluntary. The young woman smiled. William, you deserve someone better. David came closer to me and whispered, they met your ex-wife. I immediately realized that the news of the divorce had spread widely, and David might have told them. David, take them to see other houses, I said lightly. Afterwards, I negotiated with a middle-aged male client and quickly reached an agreement. Next, we drove to the real estate bureau to handle the transfer procedures. There were many people at the real estate bureau, but David took us through a dedicated channel, which was very efficient. An hour later, I looked at the transfer contract in my hand and finally breathed a sigh of relief. The house had officially changed hands, and I could finally start a new life. At the same time, Ryan and his fiancée, Ava, were selecting a new house in another building. Honey, how about this one? It's open from north to south, with good lighting and a nice environment. Ava asked excitedly, pointing at the floor plan. Ryan replied nonchalantly, I'll listen to you. We have money anyway. Coincidentally, the property that Ryan and Ava liked was the one I had seen before. The house they chose faces the atrium and is about the same size as mine. Standing on the extra-large balcony and overlooking the sparkling lake, it feels great. How is it? Do you like it? Ava asked with a smile, holding Ryan's arm. Ryan suppressed his excitement and said calmly, It's okay, this one is the one. The real estate agent immediately saw that there was a chance and continued to recommend. This one is 200 square meters, with north-south ventilation and excellent lighting. It has a wide view, luxurious decoration, and a large terrace upstairs that can be turned into a sky garden. Okay, just tell me the house price. Ryan asked decisively. $6 million. Ryan almost choked on his saliva and quickly retracted his thoughts. My house was only sold for more than $3 million. This one is almost half of that, he muttered to himself. He thought, why not let me sell the 2-bedroom apartment to support him? Anyway, he and Justin can just rent a house. When the house is demolished, his parents can leave him a room, which will be enough. If it's not enough, I can borrow some more, and with some support from my parents, I should be able to make up the difference. He pondered, his eyes complicated. The agent was keenly aware of this and continued to recommend. We also have an 88 square meter apartment with 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms and a free parking space. What's the price? Ryan asked. This apartment has a reasonable layout and is in short supply. The owner wants to sell it now. The price is $3.1 million. The price was right, and the remaining money could be saved. This is it, Ryan decided. The agent quickly took out the contract. The deposit is $20,000, and the down payment will be paid within a week. Ryan waved his hand. We will pay the full amount. The agent reminded, if you can't buy it for your reasons, the deposit will not be refunded. No problem. I will come within a week. After paying the deposit, they walked out of the agency arm in arm, feeling very happy. When they left, they looked back at this high-end residential complex and felt that they seemed to have become more elegant. Suddenly, Ava asked, what if your brother-in-law's house payment doesn't arrive? Ryan was full of confidence. The agent said that they will promote it throughout the city and guarantee that it will be sold within a week. As long as the house price arrives, they will pay this side immediately. Ava felt relieved and satisfied after hearing this. But it's a pity that we don't have a car. What's the point of giving us a parking space? Yeah, the parking space is quite a waste. Ryan suddenly realized, my brother-in-law's house can be sold for $3.5 million, and the remaining money is just enough to buy a car. That's a good idea. Let's go buy a car. Ava smiled and praised him. You have a really good brain. Ryan was so happy that he said, let's go buy a car. The two took a taxi to the northern suburbs, where there were 4S stores everywhere. Ava said, let's buy a car worth about 300,000 yuan, just for transportation, and use the rest of the money for our honeymoon. Ryan nodded, feeling happy. You arranged it very reasonably. Along the way, Ryan was grinning from ear to ear, looking at Ava and thinking he had a good taste. They started discussing which car to buy, and finally decided to buy an SUV, which was sturdy and durable. The taxi driver couldn't help but join in their discussion. After a heated discussion, they decided to buy the Volkswagen Tiguan, which met all their requirements. After getting off the car, They went directly to the Volkswagen 4S store. After some selection, they chose a white model. Although it was not in stock, they could pay a deposit and wait for the delivery. The agent recommended paying in installments, but Ryan was confident. No, we'll pay in full. They booked the car and felt very sweet in their hearts. They hoped that William could sell the house as soon as possible and start their happy life. Coming out of the real estate transaction center, I breathed a sigh of relief, finally completing the formalities. I took out the transfer contract from my bag, read it carefully, and then carefully put it back in my bag. I looked at the time on my wrist. It was 3:30 in the afternoon, and there was still more than an hour before the kindergarten was over. I decided to go to the supermarket first to buy some snacks and fruit for Justin. I drove to a nearby supermarket, picked out some snacks and fresh fruits that Justin liked, and bought some vegetables and meat, and then drove to the kindergarten. Although Justin had dinner at the kindergarten, that was not enough. I had to give him some more nutrition. When I arrived at the kindergarten, although it was still early, the entrance was already crowded with parents picking up their children. They were in groups of 3 or 5, chatting and anxiously waiting for school to end. I parked the car and joined the waiting line. I scanned the crowd and didn't see Jessica, so I breathed a sigh of relief. I don't know if she finally gave up and didn't want to cause any more trouble, or if she was at home taking care of Doris and didn't have time to come. Although I guessed it was the latter, given Jessica's temper, it was unlikely that she would figure it out. I didn't want to have a conflict with her in such a public place, nor did I want to be laughed at by others. If she insisted on arguing, I would never back down and would fight back. Finally, the door of the kindergarten opened. I followed the flow of people into the kindergarten and went straight to the floor where the middle class was located. Through the classroom window, I saw Justin sitting in his seat, waiting for his parents to pick him up. When he saw me, he ran over happily and threw himself into my arms. "Dad, you're the first one to pick me up," he said in a baby voice. I smiled and hugged him. "Of course, Dad promised you that I would be the first one to pick you up every day. Justin is the best." He happily hugged my neck and announced loudly, "My dad is the first one to pick me up." The other children cast envious glances at me. I walked up to the teacher holding Justin and solemnly said to him again, "Justin's mother and I are divorced. Justin is under my care now. No one can take Justin away except me. I hope you can understand." The teacher nodded and said, "Don't worry, Justin's father. You told me about this morning. I have already told the other teachers. Only you can take Justin away." "Thank you for your help, teacher," I said gratefully. I held Justin's hand and left the kindergarten. Watching us walk away, the teacher didn't think the divorce was surprising. After all, Jessica and I didn't seem to be a good match. There is a big difference between my husband and me in appearance and temperament. Everyone can see that we don't look like a family at all. What a good father. The teacher thought to himself, feeling that there is such a good man in the world, completely different from other men. I didn't know that Jessica was too busy to come to me. She didn't find me in the morning, so she took Doris back to the hotel. She counted her belongings and felt that something was wrong. They stayed in the cheapest standard room, which cost 140 yuan a night, but she only had more than 3,000 yuan, which was not enough for her and Doris to live together for a month, not to mention Doris's medical expenses. She had to move out as soon as possible and find a job. But after 6 years without a job, it was difficult for her to find a job as a secretarial major. Finally, Jessica decided to go back to her parents' house. Although her parents disagreed, she believed that they would not kick her out. At worst, I can reconcile with William and compensate them a little, she thought to herself. While packing up, he said to Doris, "Doris, let's go home." Doris looked up from the tablet and asked excitedly, "Is Uncle William no longer angry? Did he agree to have the surgery?" Jessica sighed. "No, I'm going back to Grandma's house." The smile on Doris's face disappeared and her eyes became cold. She threw the tablet in her hand onto the bed and screamed, "I won't go. I won't go. Why hasn't Uncle William forgiven you yet? What on earth are you doing? Why are you so stupid? You can't even do this." When a child pointed at her nose and called her stupid, Jessica's face suddenly felt hot, as if she had been slapped hard in the face. She wished she could find a hole to crawl into. She tried to hold back her embarrassment and explained with a blushing face, "Doris, I haven't found Uncle William yet. Let's go to Grandma and Grandpa's house for a few days. When I find Uncle William, we will go to the hospital." Doris didn't listen to her explanation at all. She sat up suddenly from the bed, staring with a pair of big eyes, gritting her teeth and cursing. "You are lying. Uncle William doesn't want you anymore. He refuses to perform surgery on me. You are a fool, at the big fool." Jessica's heart like a sharp knife. But seeing Doris' pale face and thinking that she was just a seriously ill child. Jessica could only swallow all the grievances and not argue with her. She tried to force a smile and said gently, "Be good, Doris. It will only take a few days. I promise to let Uncle William give you the kidney." "I'm not going. Grandma and Grandpa don't like me at all. They hate me. You know that. I'm not going to their house." Doris became even more agitated and her little face turned red. Jessica agreed with what Doris said. After all, her parents didn't even like their grandson Justin, let alone Doris, a little girl with unknown origins. But she couldn't tell Doris that. She could only be patient and continue to persuade her kindly. "Doris, the most important thing now is to treat your illness. I don't have much money left, and I have to save it for your dialysis. If you continue to live here, you will have no money to eat, no money to buy medicine, and no money for dialysis. Be good, bear with it for a few days, and stay at Grandma and Grandpa's house first." Even she didn't believe what she said, let alone Doris. "No, I won't go to your house. I won't live in your shabby house. It's smelly and dirty." Doris firmly disagreed, threw off the quilt, and rolled on the bed. Her sharp cry was like a howl, echoing in the small room, making Jessica dizzy. Jessica sat weakly on the bed, and the last time she took Doris back to her parents' home came to her mind. Doris just stood in the living room for a while, and then she clamored to go home. On the way back, she kept scratching her arms and legs, saying that there were bugs biting her at home. Jessica checked her whole body, but found nothing. But Doris was convinced that there were bugs at her house and refused to go there again. "I don't like your shabby house. I don't want to live there." Doris cried breathlessly, and her tears flowed down like pearls from a broken string. "You are still an adult. Why are you so stupid? You can't even do anything right. If you have no ability, why did you promise my dad to take care of me? Why did you bring me along and let me suffer with you? If my dad knew, he would definitely hate you to death. He would definitely blame you and hate you. Why did you bring me back? Why did you bring me back if you have no ability? Daddy, I want Daddy. Daddy, where are you?" These accusations were like steel needles, piercing Jessica's heart fiercely, causing her to almost suffocate. She sat on the bed, staring blankly at Doris, with only her heart-wrenching cries in her ears. "Daddy, I want Daddy. Daddy, where are you?" Seeing Doris crying harder and harder, and even vomiting, Jessica didn't dare to let her cry anymore. She hurried forward to hug her and persuaded her in a gentle voice. "Doris, I know you are unhappy, but we have no other choice now. Annie promises that I will have the surgery in a few days. Do you believe me, okay?" "Liar. You're a liar." Doris stopped crying and stared at her hatefully. "If Justin was sick, you wouldn't do this. You don't care about me at all, because I'm not your biological daughter. It's not like that." Jessica hugged her and cried. "Doris, it's really not like that. I treat you much better than I treat Justin. Look, I believe everything you say. I really like you more. If my kidney can be donated to you, I'm willing to give you both of them." Doris felt very touched by these words. She finally stopped crying and asked her with sobs, "Really? Do you really only like me? Divorced Uncle William in order to treat your illness, and I didn't want Justin anymore. I took you with me wherever I went, and I didn't even take Justin with me. You believe your aunt." Jessica wiped her tears, hugged her, and swore to her. After a long time, Doris finally believed her and slowly stopped crying. Jessica breathed a sigh of relief. The baby's crying was so deafening. Justin had never been like this before. But there was nothing she could do. She was sick, and her parents are not around, so she had to be more considerate of her. When she stopped crying, Jessica brought her some water to drink, combed her hair, washed her face, and then discussed things with her. "Doris, be obedient. We have to pack up and leave. Otherwise, we will have to calculate the bill for another day. All the money your aunt has will be used to treat your illness." Doris finally figured it out and nodded. Jessica quickly packed up and went to the front desk to check out. The front desk lady saw Doris's red and swollen eyes and couldn't help teasing her. "What's wrong with the little girl? You're crying like this. The guest next door thought you were killing a child." Doris bit her lip, glared at her resentfully, and ignored her. The receptionist was stunned and suddenly felt that the child's eyes were a little scary. But when she looked again, Doris had already lowered her head, as if the previous glance was just an illusion. Jessica didn't say much and urged the receptionist to handle the formalities and took Doris out of the hotel. She was reluctant to take a taxi and decided to take Doris on the bus. Doris was very reluctant and pouted, saying, "I don't want to take the bus. Let's take a taxi." Jessica had no choice but to pick her up. "Doris, let me carry you. It's only a few stops away and we'll be there soon." There's no need to waste money. When it comes to saving money, Jessica is an expert. She always let William pay before, but now she has to do it herself. Jessica and Doris got on the bus and wobbled to Jessica's parents' home. There are not many people on the bus, and Doris stopped crying after she sat down. The station was not far from Jessica's dormitory area, about 5 or 6 minutes away. The two got off the bus and soon arrived at the gate of the dormitory area. Standing downstairs of Jessica's apartment, Doris refused to go up. She said tearfully, "This house is too shabby, broken, and smelly. I don't want to live here. I would rather die than live here. We'll just stay here for 2 days and then move out once we find Uncle William." Jessica almost became a parrot, repeating this sentence over and over again along the way. Doris was already immune to it. Her feet seemed to be nailed down, and she couldn't move even a step. "I don't want to live here, Annie. Let's go. I don't want to live here." "Be patient, Doris. Only after I settle you down can I go to look for Uncle William with peace of mind." Doris had no choice but to follow Jessica up the stairs step by step. As she went upstairs, she complained that the stairs were too narrow, too steep, too dirty, too dark, and in short, useless. The door to the second floor happened to be open, and an old lady was sitting at the door picking vegetables. When she heard what she said, she rolled her eyes at Jessica. "Charlie, whose child are you taking care of? Why is she so rude? The child is young and doesn't know anything. Don't argue with her." Jessica explained with a smile and whispered to Doris to stop complaining. "Hate it. I hate it here." Doris' voice became softer, but she still kept complaining. Jessica half dragged and half pulled her to the door of her house, and Doris began to get nervous again. "Auntie, will Grandma and Grandpa scold me?" She was afraid of Catherine and Johnson. The last time she saw them, Johnson ignored her, and Catherine even scolded Jessica for bringing back a burden. Ryan was even more aggressive and yelled at her directly. Get out of here, little girl." Now that she had to live with them in such a shabby place, she couldn't help but want to turn around and run away. "It's okay. Your aunt is here. They will treat you well. Let's go." Doris raised her eyelids and glared at her, thinking to herself, "They're not good to you." Jessica opened the door and pulled Doris in. Johnson went to the senior center to play mahjong, and only Catherine was at home, sitting at the table picking vegetables. Catherine's face didn't look good when she saw the door open and Jessica came in. Her face became even darker when she saw Jessica holding Doris's hand with one hand and carrying the luggage with the other. She threw the bean pods in her hand into the basket and said sternly, "What are you doing? Bringing this burden back." Jessica smiled and said carefully, "Mom, I'm staying here with Doris for 2 days." Catherine interrupted her bluntly. "What do you mean by live here? I told you long ago that there is no place for you to live here." "Why is it no place for me? If you really think about it, I also have a share of this house." Jessica felt aggrieved after being scolded by her mother. "You are now divorced from William. Your brother said that we have drawn a clear line between us. William will be your father and I's biological son from now on. You like to do stupid things, but we don't want to do them with you." Jessica couldn't believe it and asked, "Mom, you left me for William? You have to know that it was because of me that William was willing to give you money." Catherine pouted and continued picking vegetables. "That's not necessarily true. Your brother said that William and I are relatives. You, go with this little girl." Jessica stared at her mother with wide eyes, not coming to her senses at all. Her mother was usually kind to her. Why was she speaking so harshly now? "Mom, how could you be like this? No matter what I do, I have to do this to a fool like you. Hurry up and take the little girl back to where you came from." Doris turned around and was about to leave, but Jessica held her back, gritted her teeth, and said to Catherine, "Okay, I gave you at least 200,000 yuan before. You give me 20,000 yuan first." 20,000 dollars, Catherine exclaimed. "You are dreaming. Asking Catherine for money is almost like asking for her life. You're asking us for money to fill this bottomless pit. Are you dreaming? I'm telling you, forget it. This money is for your brother to get married. Not to mention that your family is in turmoil. Even your brother's family is about to break up. You really could bring back a money loser. Get her away quickly. Maybe William will forgive you. I really can't stand it anymore. Take this unlucky guy away." Catherine didn't care about Doris' feelings and pointed at the two of them and scolded them. Jessica lowered her head and couldn't raise it at all. Doris clutched Jessica's clothes tightly with both hands. Her face was pale. Her breathing was rapid. Doris' body shook violently. She screamed and fainted. Jessica was so frightened when she saw her fall that her hands and feet went limp. She dropped her luggage and immediately hugged Doris. Doris, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. Doris closed her eyes and fell limply into her arms, completely motionless. Catherine was also panicking. Although Doris was sick, she was obviously fainted by her scolding. Is she dead? Catherine suddenly put her hand on Doris' nose. Her face lit up. She's still breathing. She's not dead. Hurry up and send her to the hospital. Hurry up and send her to the hospital. Jessica was so scared that she didn't know what to do. She quickly checked and found that he was breathing. Catherine sneered, "Don't bring a jinx into the house in the future." Fortunately, I'm not scared to death. Jessica didn't care about that. She looked up and begged, "Mom, please lend me some money first. How can I save her without money? If something happens to her." Jessica was tempted. If she didn't give him the money, she would have to ask Catherine for it. Catherine was confused and went into the house to get an envelope. "Here is 10,000 yuan. That's all I have, take it." Jessica took the envelope and tears fell. She had given such envelopes to Catherine countless times, and now she wanted one back. Why was it so difficult? Jessica took Doris in her arms and took a taxi to the hospital. Fortunately, the money Catherine gave was enough to pay for the medical expenses. Looking at Doris, who was lying on the bed with a pale face, Jessica felt mixed emotions. Catherine's words pierced her heart like thorns. Why was it so difficult for her to do something? Everyone opposed her and scolded her. But she won't give up, even if everyone in the world says she's wrong. She will never give up. She has a clear conscience. "Auntie." Doris woke up and immediately turned her head to look for her. "Doris, how are you? Are you feeling unwell anywhere?" Jessica asked gently. "Auntie, don't go." Doris opened her eyes weakly and grabbed Jessica's hand as if she had grabbed a life-saving straw. "I'm scared." "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Auntie is not going anywhere. I will stay with you." Jessica patted her hands gently and comforted her softly. "It's all Auntie's fault. I shouldn't have taken you back. Don't be afraid. We will never go back. Auntie, I dreamed that Mom and Dad didn't want me anymore." Doris's little face was full of fear, and she held Jessica's hand tightly. "They left me alone in the dark room. Auntie, please don't leave me. I'm scared." "No, Auntie won't abandon you. Be good and don't be afraid." Jessica hugged Doris and comforted her softly. Doris said timidly, "Auntie, can you ask my dad to pick me up?" Jessica's heart tightened, as if she was hit by something, and she couldn't speak for a long time. Doris suddenly became excited and struggled to sit up. "I want to find my dad. I want to find my dad." "Doris, calm down. You need to rest now. Don't move." Jessica held down Doris's restless body. "Your father. He went out to earn money for your medical treatment, and we'll be back soon. Let's wait for him together, okay?" "I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You lied to me. You lied to me." Doris didn't want to believe it at all and cried even harder. "I want to go find my father. I want to go find my father." "Doris." Jessica held Doris's hand, tried to stop her from moving. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain on the back of her hand. Looking down, she saw Doris bit Jessica's hand with her mouth open. Blood gushed out instantly. Jessica gasped in pain and instinctively wanted to pull her hand back, but Doris bit it tightly, as if she wanted to vent all her grievances on her. "Doris, let go, let go." Jessica was in so much pain that tears were about to fall, but she didn't dare to push Doris away for fear of hurting her. "Doris, if you don't let go, I'll be angry." Jessica lowered her voice and tried to scare her, but this trick didn't work on her at all, and she bit harder and harder. Jessica was furious and raised her hand, really wanting to slap her, but when her hand reached mid-air, it dropped down weakly. "What do you want me to do in exchange for you giving in?" Doris raised her head, looked at me with tearful eyes, and said word by word, "I want my daddy. Your father. I want my daddy. I want my daddy." Doris suddenly screamed, her voice so sharp and piercing that it seemed to pierce my eardrums. "Shut up." Jessica finally couldn't help it and yelled at Doris. Doris was startled and stared at me blankly, tears welling up in her eyes, but she didn't dare to cry out loud. "You." Jessica looked at her, not knowing what to say, and simply turned around and walked out of the ward, feeling very depressed. When she reached the door, Jessica stopped and looked back at Doris on the bed. She was staring at Jessica with tearful eyes, her eyes full of helplessness and fear. Jessica's heart softened. She knew she shouldn't lose her temper with a child, but... "Oh." Jessica sighed, turned around and walked back. "Doris, don't be afraid. Annie will always be with you. Don't be afraid." Doris glanced at Jessica, said nothing, and just lowered her head silently. Seeing Doris like this, I felt even more upset. Doris, don't worry. Annie will take care of you like her own child. Jessica stroked her hair gently and said softly. Doris looked up and confirmed. Really? Auntie, of course it's true. Jessica nodded. When has Annie ever lied to you? Hearing Jessica say this, Doris finally smiled. Don't leave me. Okay. Jessica nodded vigorously. Doris then stared at Jessica and refused to let her leave for a moment. She was worried that Jessica would abandon her, as Catherine said. As long as Jessica was not in front of her, she would cry loudly. She had no choice but to stay with her all the time. In this way, Jessica had no time to do other things, let alone to cause trouble for me. I got a rare moment of peace and quiet. My phone dinged, indicating that a sum of money had been deposited into my bank account. I clicked on it and saw that it was the money from the sale of my house. I immediately transferred all the money to my stock account and then sent a WeChat message to Phone Yubin. Old phone, have you collected all the money? Transfer all to the stock market and wait for my news next Monday. Phone Yubin quickly replied on WeChat. It's all ready. I'll keep an eye on your messages. You tell me to move forward, and I won't move backward. I'll follow your instructions in all my actions. Okay, I'll let you know next Monday. Okay. Phone Yubin didn't ask any questions and just listened to me. I put away the phone and took a deep breath. It was as if I saw countless banknotes waving at me, and I foresaw that I would achieve financial freedom next week. By then, I would definitely buy an off-road vehicle that I like, take my son eat all kinds of delicious food, and travel everywhere. Thinking of this, the corners of my mouth can't help but slightly rise. In the next few days, I lived a leisurely life. Every morning after sending my son to kindergarten, I would rush to the company. Since the HR department was still recruiting new people, my work was relatively easy, and I only needed to sort out some documents and handle some daily affairs. The rest of the time, I would make a cup of coffee, sit in front of my computer, browse stock information, and follow various financial news. From time to time, I would open my stock account and look at the balance, feeling very excited. In a few days, these numbers will have an extra zero. At 3 p.m., after the stock market closed, I started to sort out the documents and summarize my work experience. I planned to hand it over to Manager Wong when I resigned, which would be a perfect ending to my work during this period. On Friday, I left work early and went straight to Manager Wong's office. Manager Wong, I want to take a day off next Monday. Manager Wong has been very sympathetic to me since he knew I was getting divorced. He said directly, okay, go and do what you need. No need to ask for leave. I'll just say you're out on business. This isn't too good, right? I said this, but I was very happy in my heart. You are out on business all day, so it's normal that you're not in the company. Manager Wong waved his hand and said generously, thank you, Manager Wong. I nodded gratefully. It's nothing, just a piece of cake. Just as I was about to leave, I turned around, leaned close to Manager Wong's ear, and lowered my voice. Manager Wong, do you believe in my vision? Do you dare to invest with me? Manager Wong was stunned, thinking that I resigned and wanted to start a company and wanted to invest in it. What's wrong? You want to start your own business, but don't have enough money. I shook my head. I know a stock that is sure to make money. Do you dare to trade with me? As the saying goes, a horse cannot grow fat without night grass, and a man cannot become rich without unexpected wealth. Manager Wong has helped me a lot in my past and present lives, and I am very happy to let him make a small fortune. Manager Wong's eyes swept across my face with a hint of inquiry. He thought for a moment, nodded, and asked tentatively, I trust you. What stocks? Can you tell me? He hoped that I could reveal a little information so that he could have a general idea. I raised a mysterious smile. I knew that Manager Wong was very curious, but I couldn't tell him for the time being. As the saying goes, one person tells 10 people tell 100 people. The power of human words is terrifying. I don't want the news to leak out before the stock opens. I was reborn, and many things have changed. If this thing has changed, wouldn't it be a waste of time and energy? I dare not take risks, and I have to be extremely cautious. I shook my head. I can't say now. The time is not right. I paused deliberately and observed the changes in Manager Wong's expression. Just trust me and prepare the funds. Put all the money you have into your stock account. I will let you know the details on Monday. Manager Wong frowned slightly, tapping his fingers on the table unconsciously, wondering, so mysterious? Is it some inside information? Manager Wong muttered to himself. He suddenly remembered that I had asked for leave, and a light bulb went off in his head, and he said, "You asked for leave on Monday. Could it be because of this?" I smiled and gave him a thumbs up, praising him. "Great. As expected of you, Manager Wong. You have excellent judgment." You guessed it. Seeing that I admitted it, Manager Wong became more certain of his guess. It seems that this news is very important, and the benefits must be huge, so I'm so cautious. He lowered his voice, and his expression became serious. "I understand that this is a serious matter. Don't worry, I will never tell anyone a word." Manager Wong is also an old stock investor. Unfortunately, his stock luck and vision have not been very good. Although he has studied technical indicators thoroughly, he always makes mistakes and misses every opportunity to make money. It has become a veritable reverse indicator. He has tried to find out all kinds of inside information, but the result is nothing. His wife even asserted that the market makers were watching his movements, and when they knew he had bought stocks, they would sell them immediately, and when they heard he had sold stocks, they would buy them immediately. She earnestly advised him to admit his losses and quit the stock market. But he refused to admit his mistake and continued to work hard, believing that he would be able to turn the tide one day. I have done very well in stock trading, but I didn't dare to ask about it, for fear that if I bought it myself, it would drag me down. I didn't expect that I could get the inside information. Manager Wong couldn't help but feel envious and admired me. People who trade stocks know that sometimes an insignificant piece of gossip can bring unexpected benefits, not to mention this kind of big move that requires special leave to operate. Manager Wong couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. Would his repeated failures over the years change? I was willing to share such important news with him, and he remembered this friendship. "That's nice, brother. You thought of me when you had such a good thing. You're such a good friend." Manager Wong clapped my hands excitedly. I smiled nonchalantly and said, "Since Manager Wong considers me a friend, of course we should help each other and share the good fortune." After saying that, I turned around and left, but before leaving I turned back and reminded him, "Remember to listen to my news on Monday. Don't miss the opportunity to make a fortune." I winked at Manager Wong with a sly smile on my face. Whether Manager Wong can make money depends on whether he is willing to trust me and whether he has the fortune. During the weekend, I plan to take Justin to a zoo more than 100 kilometers away. This wildlife park is built deep in the mountains with a very good environment. The animals inside, such as pandas, tigers, black bears, and other ferocious beasts, are all free-range. Tourists can observe these animals up close while sitting in the sightseeing bus, which makes them feel like they are being visited by the animals. If you stay in the park at night, you can also take the sightseeing bus after dark to observe the animals hunting at night. "Justin, how about we go to the zoo this weekend? There are many animals there, including your favorite tigers and pandas." Yeah, I want to see the big tigers. I want to see the giant pandas. Daddy is the best." Justin jumped up with joy, hugged my neck, and gave me a kiss. "Dad, can we see real tigers? Will they bite people?" Justin asked curiously. "Of course you can see real tigers. But don't worry, they're all kept in the mountains. We are safe sitting in the sightseeing bus. I'm not going to drive this time. There's a train from the train station that goes directly to the zoo, which is very convenient. Once you enter the zoo, you have to take a sightseeing bus. If you drive, the car is useless and you have to look for parking everywhere, which is very inconvenient. Justin, let's take a train to the zoo." Okay, Justin had only taken the small trains that children took in a zoo before and had never taken a real big train. I was so excited that I danced with joy. Great. I want to ride a big train. As soon as we came out of the kindergarten, we went to the supermarket to buy snacks for the train. "Dad, I want to eat jelly. I want to eat cookies. I want to drink a drink." As soon as Justin entered the supermarket, he couldn't wait to run to the shelf and pointed at the dazzling array of snacks. Justin is short and can't reach the shelf, so he stretched out his hands anxiously. I carried him into the shopping cart, and he was busy in front of the shelf, picking out the snacks he liked. Jelly, biscuits, dried tofu, beef jerky, melon seeds, peanuts, chocolate, drinks, as long as it is something he likes to eat, he throws it all into the shopping cart. I didn't stop him. I just smiled and watched him, letting him choose. I bought whatever Justin chose, and before I knew it, the shopping cart was already full of food. Okay, we can't finish them." I smiled and stopped Justin, who wanted to take more snacks. When we got home, the little guy was still very excited. I also took out the toy train at home and imitated going to the zoo, stopping at each station and having a lot of fun. Woo woo woo. Justin was playing with the train and imitating the sound of the train. Since living with his father, Justin has become more cheerful than before. He always has a smile on his face. The time he spent with his father was like a dream to him, so beautiful that he didn't want to wake up. Everything was fine on their side, but Ryan felt something was wrong.